Welcome into the IHSA football playoffs. All the title games. We've already seen the 5A, the 6A winners. We are moving on to the 7A with Plainfield versus East St. Louis. All the coverage right here on CSN. We'll welcome you into our studio. I'm Sierra Santos alongside Edgy Tim, and we just talked about it. These two teams couldn't be any more different as far as the programs go. One is very storied, one it's very amateur.
I mean, one is the winningest program in the state of Illinois. The other hasn't won a playoff game until this year. So there's your compare and contrast with the programs. Yet there are some similarities. I think this game, as far as a matchup standpoint, is speed versus speed. East St. Louis, amazing speed on both sides of the football. Plainfield North, however, watch that defensive front seven. They aren't real big, but boy, can they get after it. And again, a very interesting matchup here in 7A.
Now you've got East St. Louis, who is undefeated. How did they get there?
They got there by almost overwhelming their opponents. You know, this is a program that people don't realize, a lot don't realize, lost their football season last year due to a teacher strike. You talk about motivation going into a season, there was not another team in the state of Illinois more motivated than the Eastside Flyers.
And I think now it's time to send it up to the booth to get our guys' reaction on their thoughts on this 7A matchup. So let's head upstairs.
All right, thank you very much, Sierra. Dave Bernhardt along with Hub Arkish. Glad you've joined us here a little bit later than you may have expected for the 7A game. We're happy to be here, and of course, these two teams are as well. Let's take a look at the brackets of how these teams got here. For East St. Louis, dominating defense, and in the semifinals, you see what the Flyers did. A shutout over Bennett Academy. That was dominating. For Plainfield North, that semifinal game will go down in IHSA history for maybe all the wrong reasons. The Wildcats get here 18-17 winners in overtime. And of course, that was 1 week ago. Tonight, an unfortunate situation, a misapplication of a rule. People owned up to it. Eventually, through the court system, it was decided, yes, the IHSA bylaws voted on by the IHSA members prevailed, and Plainfield North is here in this state title ball game. And Hub, I think that is part of the story here tonight, that you've got two teams that certainly deserve to be here.
They really do, and I think for the folks at Fenwick, of course, everybody feels horrible about what happened. But one of the reasons we encourage these young men to participate in interscholastic athletics is what can be learned from them. It's real life. A mistake was made. It wasn't intentional. It was nobody's fault. Both teams had a chance to win in overtime. Plainfield did, and that's the other side of this story. The kids at Plainfield didn't do anything wrong. They had nothing to do with this. They made the plays in overtime. They're deserving of being here tonight, and hopefully we'll have a good football game.
Let's take a look at some of the key players that will be involved in this ball game. In fact, it's two players that are actually going to see an awful lot of each other. 2A players. First of all, for Plainfield North, Dillon Mccarthy.
Well, he's a young man who's been a defensive back, a junior, a bit undersized at just 5'9", 160. He came on as a running back late in the season. The numbers aren't huge, but he makes plays all over the football field and will be matched up with somebody from the other side who's one of the stories of this game and one of the stories of the high school football season.
We're talking about Jeff Thomas. There is not a better receiver in the state. He is one of the top receivers in the nation.
Also a bit undersized at 5'10", 175. That's not keeping the power schools away from him. Missouri, hot in pursuit, Illinois, a bunch of schools hope to get this young man there. Also will show up on defense, averaging 21 yards a catch on offense, just under 1,000 yards. Defensively, they've got 5 DBs. They call the other 4 DBs, they call him the safety. He'll be all over the football field making plays for the Flyers.
So we've been waiting for this one in so very many ways. We've got it coming up next, your 7A title game here on CSN.
The fans are on their feet in anticipation of the 7A title game, Plainfield North versus East St. Louis. We are here in the studio alongside Edgy Tim. I am Sierra Santos. And Edgy, let's get to your keys of the game. First, let's start with East St. Louis.
East St. Louis, there's a saying in East St. Louis, it's a long-time motto: all gas, no brakes, get out of the gates quick, set the tone, and get things rolling right away.
And then Plainfield North, what do they got to do?
Plainfield North, you do what got you here, and that was play tremendous defense. You've got to make East St. Louis work for everything they get. If they do that, great chance for an upset here.
All right, after this, it's kickoff of the 7A state title game. We'll be right back.
Great to have you with us. A chilly night here in Champaign-Urbana. It's a 7A title game. Perfect 13-0 record for East St. Louis. Plainfield North, the 11-2 with Hub Arkish. I'm Dave Bernhardt. There is Darren Sunkett. He has one of those 7 state championships won by East St. Louis. That was in 2008. In fact, that was the last time the Flyers have made it to the state finals. And on the other side for Plainfield North, Tim Kane. We've already mentioned several times over, they had never won, Plainfield North had never won a playoff game. Yet Tim Kane has his team here tonight with that 11-2 record. Tigers started out this season 3-2. And Hubba, if they say that defense wins championships, well, this would be the game that would really determine that, because I mean, even match up that way, each of these teams have had 8 games where they've allowed a touchdown or less.
Yeah, it's stunning how similar they are. East St. Louis has allowed just 117 points all season long, 120 from Plainfield, so you got a 3-point swing there. And you talk about Plainfield having never won a playoff game before. How do they get here? They beat the 1, the 4, the 8, and the 17 seed. Big underdogs every week but week 1, and just a great story to be down on that field tonight.
Yeah, the shocker that kind of caught everybody's attention was in week number 2 of the playoffs, a 49-20 win over Bradley Bourbonnais, that top seed that you were referring to. Well, there you see Jeff Thomas. He is deep. He will get his hands on the ball as many times as possible tonight. Plainfield North won the toss. They will defer. So kicking off with about a 10-mile-per-hour wind at their back, and they will try to keep the ball away from Thomas, and Plainfield North will be very happy to give the Flyers the ball at their own 32-yard line. Quarterback for East St. Louis, Reynandes Estes. He is a 6-foot senior headed to Missouri next year. He's a 3-year starter, and here's a fellow that can do everything. He is electric behind center.
You know, it is interesting with these East St. Louis kids. We tend to think, obviously, the Illinois State Championships here. They're closer to the University of Missouri than they are to Illinois at Champaign, and they have sent a lot of kids down to that Tiger program.
You see the passing numbers for Estes. He's also rushed the ball for almost 500 yards. This is an offense that averages 43.4 points per game. Staying the ground, play number 1, a gain of only 1. The offense for East St. Louis looks like this, in addition to Estes and Thomas. Jarrell Anderson, big-time running back. Sherlondo Robinson, the man who blocks for him. Then Powell and Hall take some of the pressure off Thomas. It's the offensive line, Gunn, Taylor, Baxter, Spraggins, and Legrone, that have done an outstanding job despite having 3 members of the original offensive line this season out with an injury. After a short gain, Estes will go underneath center. Goes underneath DeAndre's Gunn, 5'11", 276-pounder. Nothing there. First man on the hit, you'll hear an awful lot of him. Number 55, defensive tackle Ari Ikoa. He's joined by Tim Donahue, Leo Santos, and Shane McGrill up front. Good set of linebackers. Stoll and Fry, almost mirror images of each other. Kevin Block, one of the outstanding defensive backs in the state. He has also played a little bit of quarterback this year out of necessity. Your starting lineups tonight brought to you by Taco Bell. There's a loss of yardage on the play. It's 3rd down and 10. Estes. 3 and out for the Flyers to start this one.
It's an interesting choice by Estes. The middle of the field just opened wide up. I thought for sure he was coming down the middle. Probably would have gone for 15, 20 yards, but he stayed in the pocket, surveyed the backfield. A little high, a little bit maybe pregame excitement there as he got that ball up higher than he wanted to. He'll bring that down and get more accurate, I think, as the game goes on.
He was looking for Perez Hall. Hall with 11 catches, 152 yards. So not the premier receivers for East St. Louis. Against the wind, fair catch called at the 35-yard line. 30-yard kick, and it will be Plainfield North ball. We mentioned Kevin Block, how he has played a little bit of quarterback. Well, that's because starting quarterback Brady Miller had some injury problems early in the summer, injured in this summer. Didn't do much 7-on-7 with him. He'll come out, though, and he's come on strong as the season's progressed. You see almost 1,900 yards.
Definitely a pocket passer. This team will run the ball about 60% of the time. They'll play some spread, but you've only got 34 carries for Miller, so he's the guy who's going to stay back there and try and throw the football.
Motion from Connor Peplow. Peplow's going to throw it. Coverage by Thomas, and that falls well short. So out of the blocks, Plainfield North. Their offense looks to do something magical, and here is a look at their offense brought to you by Taco Bell. We talked about Dillon McCarthy, but Tyler Hoosman, big running back, over 1,600 yards. He scored 26 touchdowns, also caught 21 passes. Saw a couple of TJ Kane, the coach's son. Up front there you see Ari Ikuwa. He is the two-way player here in your starting lineups. We'll see a couple of others for the Tigers going both ways as well. Big hole off the right side. Hoosman tumbled down, but not before he picks up a first down.
Jeff Thomas may not be a big man, but that was a saving tackle as he cartwheeled him. If he doesn't get him there, he's going to the house.
Hoosman averaging 7.1 yards per carry this season. 6 foot, 180-pound senior. There are his numbers for this season. His older brother was a tailback who rushed for over 2,000 yards. Hoosman to the near side. And he'll be thrown down. Taylor Cook, defensive back. Stop Hoosman for short gain. Here's the defense for East St. Louis, brought to you by Taco Bell. The men up front. This is where it happens. Williams, Harvey, and Taylor. They clog up the middle and allow the linebackers Eric Owens, James Knight, and Ken Dixon to do some damage. In the secondary, we said, led by Jeff Thomas, and you saw Taylor Cook just moments ago. So there'll be a loss of about a yard for Hoosman. They'll try that right tackle again, and this time Hoosman smothered one of the first men in on the stop. Damon Taylor, 6'3", 255-pound sophomore. You're looking at James Knight. Knight, somebody that we may see going both ways as well.
You mentioned the size of that group up front, or the fact that they clog it. Lamontre Harvey in the middle at 6'2", 255. Terry and Williams at 6'2", 247. Harvey, 122 tackles with 10 sacks on the season. A little hard to get across the line of scrimmage for the opponents of that defense.
His coach, Darren Sunkett, just raves about Harvey. 3rd and long for Miller. A catchable ball. TJ Kane cannot hang on.
I'm going to give the coach's kid a pass on that one, Dave. He should have caught the ball, but he was not going to get to the first down marker. There was 3 defenders between him and about the last 7 yards to gain for the first down, so kind of a harmless drop if there is such a thing on that one.
You see the blonde hair of Tim Kane. That is a theme with this team. About 90% of the team and several coaches dyed their hair blonde. I don't know if you dye it anymore. Maybe you just color your hair blonde.
I think the expression was they bleached it.
Okay. You'll see a lot of blonde from Plainfield North. Miller doubling up as the punter, and again, just keeping it away from Thomas. A short kick of just 22 yards, and East St. Louis will get their hands on the ball for the second time tonight. We have 1 first down. We have no score here in your 7A title game. The 2016 IHSA Football State Championships are brought to you by Country Financial. Country Financial will help you build a plan with your insurance and financial solutions to help you get to where you want to go. Call your local rep at 1-866-COUNTRY or visit countryfinancial.com. Good field position here for East St. Louis to start their second possession of this game. It was a 3-and-out. First time the Flyers touch the ball. Thomas motion. He'll get that handoff. And he'll be run down for no gain. Number 54, J.J. Fry. 12 tackles for loss this year. Over 100 total tackles. Was spying number 4 all the way.
Yeah, that was really nice defense. You know, it wasn't really the fault of Thomas. It's just nobody could get a block. The defensive line just strung him out, made him go wide with more people coming to pursue, and eventually there was nowhere to turn it up.
We heard Edgy Tim between games talk about the speed of these two teams, especially on defense. You saw the 6'1", 220-pounder run down Thomas from behind. Gain of about half a yard, and that is it. Play action. Estes, he has room on the sideline. Ray Estes will fly down the sideline and step out at the 42-yard line.
That's a great example of why I was a little surprised on that last third down in their first possession. He didn't come out of the pocket. He'll do it. He's had 76 carries on the year for 482 yards, averaging 6.3 yards a pop. He's rushed for 15 touchdowns, and so not unusual to see him come out. There was nothing but green in front of him on that left sideline.
I love the comment that Darren Sunk had said about Rayondas Estes. He said, this is his team. 3-year starter at quarterback and a first down. To the air again. Workable numbers on first down. The completion will go to Lawan Powell. Powell, a 6'2", 179-pound freshman. Another one of the complimentary receivers to Jeff Thomas. Eight yards on first down. Anderson the carry, and he is stuck in the middle of that defensive line.
A nice initial surge. I thought he was going to get the first down, but he's short a yard. Really nice job coming up and filling that hole.
Darrell Anderson over 1,300 yards, averaging 6.1 yards per carry.
It's third down and 1 at the 33.
Now the Flyers need a yard. We rapidly approach the midpoint of this first quarter. Estes will look to do it himself, and he will. First down at the 25-yard line. That was a no-doubter on the snap of the ball.
He was running all the way, and really, it's field position that I think dictates this drive after two teams each one had a 3-and-out to start. That awful punt. I know you want to keep the ball away from Jeff Thomas, but you can't afford a lot of 20-yard punts when a team can go as quickly as these guys at East St. Louis can on offense.
Estes underneath center. Anderson off right tackle. Pickup of 7 on first down.
Darrell Anderson on the carry.
That's just a nice job.
Tackled by 24, Zach Nadel.
Seeing the crease and planting a foot and going upfield, taking what's there. It was 6 easy yards, and now you've got a very makeable second down situation.
First possession for East St. Louis, 3-and-out. Here they seem to have found a little bit of rhythm. Their second touch of the ball. Anderson 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Estes right underneath LeGrone. Underneath Gunn, we should say. Here's Anderson. Anderson will have that first down inside the 15.
Getting a really nice push right now from that East St. Louis offensive line. If I get down these games, look at the size of these offensive lines in these 7 and 8A games. They're almost like Division II college teams. I mean, this offensive line for East St. Louis, they're averaging 260 pounds across the middle. Only Therese LeGrue at right tackle is out there at about 220. The rest of them all 255 or bigger.
And another first down for the Flyers. Staying on the ground to the outside, and only about a yard, and that is it. Charlando Robinson, fullback, with his 30th carry of the season. They call him an H-back, fullback, usually used as a blocking back. You see number 5, Kevin Block, on the tackle, as East St. Louis will come to the line here for their 8th play of this drive.
Yeah, you won't see him run from scrimmage much. You mentioned his 30th carry. He's actually got 24 receptions, used more as a pass receiver, really, than a runner, and of course, a blocker for Darrell Anderson.
Staying on the ground to Anderson. East St. Louis will be looking at a 3rd and 6.
Where you watch football games, Dave, and you sometimes wonder why teams even bother to put it up. They're ripping it off at about 5-6 yards a pop on the ground. You get a lot of first downs. There's no point outsmarting yourself now down in the red zone.
Thomas split to the left. He will draw plenty of attention out there. Estes heads left. Slick little cut, but he'll come up a couple of yards short.
Estes on the keeper.
It'll be 4th down.
Zach Nadel.
3 to go.
It's 4th down. 4th and 3 at the 7-yard line.
This is not a team that has had to do much kicking this season, so this spot in the field, they will go for it. Big crowd from Plainfield North as well as East St. Louis making noise here on 4th down inside the 10. Estes, end zone, touchdown! Touchdown catch by James Knight. We mentioned the linebacker has been on the offensive side of the ball, and he gets the first score of this game.
I'm not sure anybody on the Plainfield North sideline expected them to throw that football. I think they were looking for that ball to get handed off. Knight there was nobody near him. As a matter of fact, there was another receiver shadowing him who was almost as open. It was really for us to pick your target. Now you've got him up 6-zip.
Folks travel well from East St. Louis. And this play is taking a long time to get settled here. Play clock's down to 10. Anderson picking a hole. To the 6 points scored by James Knight. That will be it for the Flyers when they score on their 2nd possession of the game. Ray Estes tosses the touchdown pass to Knight. It's 6-0 Flyers. Good looking drive for East St. Louis. Their 2nd possession. They end up going 56 yards. Took them 11 plays with the big number, 5 minutes and 40 seconds off the clock.
A little unusual for a team that strikes like lightning. They go up and down the field, but a prolonged drive. And you know, sometimes the stories with these high school teams, Dave, it's the backstories that are so much fun. We talked to Coach Sunkett earlier in the week, and he pointed out this particular East St. Louis team on a mission to get to this final, the first one Sunkett's been to since 2008, in large part because they lost a season last year. They didn't get to play because it was a teacher strike down in East St. Louis. They have bounced all the way back to go undefeated and be here today now with a 6-zip lead in the first period.
You know, and with that teacher strike, a lot of teams sometimes, you know, miss a game or two because of strikes. For East St. Louis, they lost their last 5 games of the year. This team only played 4 games last year before their season was wiped out. Taylor Cook put this ball in play. And a flag down before the return can get underway. Deep for Plainfield North. See number 5, Kevin Block, number 6, Dillon McCarthy.
Yeah, Coach Sunkett's going to be unhappy about that one. Going offsides on a kickoff is not the best way to go.
Dead ball on the kicking team.
We'll back it up 5 yards and do it again.
I think the official's mic must have cut out there. I'm not sure what a dead ball on the kicking team is. I think he said offsides, dead ball now on the kicking team.
I was waiting for the addendum.
Yeah.
So from the 35-yard line. Dangerous return men. We mentioned Block along with McCarthy. Nico Capizio there as well. And a chance for a return in decent field position here. They will fake the reverse to the near side. McCarthy. He'll get to the 40-yard line. Good field position for the Tigers. That's a 20-yard return.
Nice execution, not bad. It sent a couple tacklers the wrong way. Probably added about 10-12 yards to the return for McCarthy. And a little wrinkle now that East St. Louis will have to keep an eye on for the rest of the game. Of course, that assumes that Plainfield is able to score and receive, or rather, that East St. Louis scores and that they're receiving more kickoffs. I think it's a pretty safe bet East St. Louis is going to score again. You look at the numbers.
Now, when you average 43 points per game, you know, the offense for Plainfield North, they scored just 18 in that overtime win. Had 7 points until that final field goal and 8-point overtime period last week. But still, they averaged 34 points a game, and there you see the quickness of that defense. Number 52 coming out of there is Lewis Albert. 5'11", 185. That's quick on quick. Dillon McCarthy never had a chance. He's lucky he got the handoff from Miller.
You know what's really stunning, Dave, is that was Harvey in there too, and it's 6'2", 255 to split that seam like that. That's an impressive young man.
Loss of 5. Miller to the air, and that's the second drop of the night. Connor Peplow couldn't hang on to that one. Right there in the coverage. See number 8, Marcavian Darrow, defensive back, along with number 12, Taylor Cook. I would say I like the numbers on the sleeves underneath the jerseys for East St. Louis. You have the number on the right shoulder pad and then on the white sleeves.
I think everything about it, that white on blue, is nice and easy to see. I can't remember which game it was we had last year where I could not read the numbers to save my life.
I think it felt like there were 5 games last year that we couldn't read the numbers. There was indeed one. Oh, Miller, that's another loss of 5. And this is what East St. Louis does. That front 7 just comes and gets you. Number 58, there's Tyshawn Taylor. Number 56, Sean Bruns.
And Dave, the really tough thing for Plainfield is they only had 3 receivers out on the route. You know, so when you've got 7 back to block 5 or 6, you should be able to give your quarterback a little bit more time than that to get rid of the football.
So once again, Miller will look to kick. He's got to get a little bit more than 22 yards on this one. And it won't be any better. It'll be a little bit worse. That's a tough sequence right there for the Plainfield North Tigers.
Both punts are shanked off to his left side, and it's really Jeff Thomas, I would say, is in his head at this point.
Yeah, the game plan is obviously to keep it away from Thomas, but a lot of field position has been sacrificed in the process.
Yeah, you cannot let East St. Louis play on half a football field as they take over at the Plainfield 43. That's just making it a little too easy for them.
This will be big number 70, DeAndre's Gunn. 5'11", 276-pound center. It's not necessarily been gathering a lot of college attention, but the size and the position certainly makes him attractive to people at the next level. Estes again under center. He's going to crank it up deep, looking for it all. Thomas, touchdown. 43 yards. The All-American with the TD reception.
Yeah, Anthony Fumagalli just got a close-up look at the speed of Jeff Thomas. You really can't fault Fumagalli on that. Thomas gave him a little stop and go, and it was all over. He had a good 6-7 yards on Fumagalli. It was just a question of whether Estes was going to overthrow him or not. He did bobble it in the end zone, but Thomas hangs on. That's why he's averaging over 20 yards a catch.
Jeff Thomas, his 12th touchdown reception of the season. The last 2 times that ball has been snapped by East St. Louis, they have scored. He averages almost 22 yards per catch. That goes for 43. Looking for 2. And for the second time in this game, 2-point conversion fails, so Flyers will have to be satisfied with that 12-0 score here late in the first quarter.
We've got one of these early turning points, guys, as we look at the deep bomb. We'll look at that. A good 8 yards of separation from Fumagalli by Jeff Thomas. It was just a question of whether Estes could get the ball there. And, you know, David, it's one of these games where even though there's a minute 12 left in the first period, I think we've reached a significant turning point. Plainfield North needs to at least take some time off the clock, move the ball down the field, get a couple first downs. They've got to make a statement they're going to be in this game, because this East St. Louis team will get away from you fast if you don't.
On both sides of the ball. How about a 7-second drive? Well, you know, Thomas had to come back, slow up a little bit for that ball. You talk about Fumagalli just watching the back of his jersey. That's a special receiver right there in Jeff Thomas. Aaron Sunkinson, you know, I can see him playing in the NFL. 4-year starter. This year he's been asked to play both sides of the ball.
And it's interesting, at just 5'10", 174, heavily recruited by Power 5 schools. I'm guessing they see the ability to put 10, 12 pounds of muscle on that frame. Whether he's going to be a DB or a wide receiver in college remains to be seen, I think.
Taylor Cook to kickoff.
Cook angling to the sideline. That's a pretty good pickup right there by Capizio. He's able to get himself out to the 32-yard line. Nico Capizio with the return.
Nico Capizio on the return.
Here comes the offensive unit for Plainfield North.
I'd really like to see them commit to running the football a few times here. Even if you don't get a first down, pound away at them a little bit, slow things down. So far, Miller, they're in a hurry to get him back in the pocket. That line is just collapsing too quickly on him.
Miller quickly to the near side. He'll connect with Kevin Block.
Pass complete to Dillon
McCarthy.
Tackled by number 10, James Knight.
Short gain and better looking play than they had in the previous possession. They lost yardage on 2 different plays.
Yeah, obviously, this is the essence of their offense, but it's a long throw, 15 yards out there to the sideline. You put it out in the flat, and then it's for a 3-yard gain. It's almost not worth the risk.
Stay in the ground, and opening momentarily that was shut by James Knight. Well, you saw McCarthy get the handoff, and you saw Green in front of him, and all of a sudden Knight came from nowhere to stop it.
You know, you see again, this young man is 6 foot, 210 pounds, not huge, but not what you would expect from a sprinter, and he got there so quick. It was just I didn't think he'd close the hole. I thought he was going for 10, 15 yards. Knight closed that hole for almost nothing.
That will close out our first quarter. Couple of touchdown passes from Rayandes Estes, one to James Knight, who you see defensively has made a name for himself, and then Jeff Thomas, the All-American, a 43-yard reception. We have played one in your 7A title game, and it's all Flyers. Tomorrow morning, before Jordan Howard and company face the Tennessee Titans, get ready for kickoff with Chris Bowden, Lance Briggs, Alex Brown, and Jim Miller on an hour-long edition of Bears Pregame Live. And after the game goes final, you won't want to miss what the guys have to say. Plus, hear from Coach Fox and the rest of the team on Bears Postgame Live. It all begins tomorrow at 11 a.m. on CSN. With Hub Arkush, I'm Dave Bernhard. We are in Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois, and Plainfield North in crunch time here early as we start the second quarter. Miller to pass and in trouble. Not much room. Miller's going to shake free. He's got a first down. That sideline was approaching quickly. Miller just kept those feet moving. That gain will take him out to the 45-yard line.
That's a very nice job, because a lot of young men would just go for the sideline, take what's there. That would have left him short of the first down. He saw it. He cut it back inside, got the extra 3 yards he needed to pick up the first, and a new set of downs.
Therese Legrone with the stop on Miller. Had that jersey, just couldn't yank him down. Fresh set of downs for the Wildcats. Second first down of the night, or for the Tigers, we should say, and that is going to go for another first down. The completion to Connor Peplow shook free for a gain inside East St. Louis territory.
Exactly what we talked about them needing before the break, Dave. Get yourself a couple first downs, get a little rhythm, at least slow down East St. Louis. It's actually a nice night for football. It's not like they're going to get too cold on the sidelines, but make them sit over there on the sidelines, get them out of their rhythm a little bit. Ideally, get this ball down close enough to put some points on the board.
Back-to-back plays, back-to-back first downs. Flag thrown here on the near side.
Dead ball. Encroachment. Defense. Number 21.
It's a strange penalty. I saw that in the Michigan-Ohio State game. In the NFL, you can't have encroachment unless the ball is snapped. Somehow, unless you're unabated to the quarterback, which obviously nobody was, they're blowing that whistle and stopping this early. I thought for sure it was going to be a false start on Plainfield, and I'm thinking how much offensive coaches hate those pre-snap penalties, but Plainfield stood still. It was East St. Louis that lost the 5.
Well, and those coaches aren't too happy about it either on the defensive side. Miller, he'll throw in the run. Big hit, but hanging on is Connor Peplow. Was he stuck? Malcolm Bell got Peplow, and somehow the senior hangs on to this.
That is just a great catch by Peplow because he's juggling the football when he takes that hit. Ball rides up on his shoulder pad, but he's able to get both hands on it and take it to the ground. Really outstanding concentration for the senior wide receiver.
Watch this ball just sit on those pads for a second. Yeah, he tucked that ball in after he took that hit.
Yeah, it looked like he tucked it against his bicep there and was able to squeeze it and get his hands on it.
So with Connor Peplow down, we'll take a break. 12-0 East St. Louis. Second minute of play in the second quarter. It's the blonde hair of Connor Peplow. Well, everybody giving him a little pat, some people chest and belly. I don't know if that feel real good right now.
Yeah, my wife would want me to point out the dark roots, though. He's one who obviously bleached his hair for the quarterfinals. So the ball is riding up, and he's got a hand, it says, against his bicep. He's pinning it to his shoulder pad. Great concentration to hang on to that football. My guess is he just got the wind knocked out of him. That looked like a shoulder in the gut. And you know how that feels when you take it to the solar plexus.
Well, let's give credit to Malcolm Bell for a great tackle, fundamental tackle. That catch goes for another first down, the third on this drive. Capizio motion, Hoosman the carry. A yard. Hoosman today with his 4th carry, has 11 yards.
You know, Coach Kane told us that he likes to run the ball about 60% of the time. They are not so far in the game, but that's obviously got to be what he saw in the film because they're trying to take what they think they can get from East St. Louis. This drive, they're finally putting some positive yardage together.
The big cheer you hear from the near side is Connor Peplow coming back into the ball game. So you're right, Hub. Likely the wind knocked out of him. Tough guy, though. He's right back at it.
Yeah, that's that feeling where you think the world is coming to an end, and then all of a sudden about 10, 15 seconds later, you realize I'm going to be okay. A minute or two later, it's like it didn't happen.
Plainfield North will take a timeout here. They want to make this right here on 2nd down and 9. It gives us a chance to remind you that Wednesday night, Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade, and the Bulls eye their 2nd win this month over the LA Lakers. And you can stream it all on the NBC Sports app, beginning at 6:30 with Bulls pregame live, presented by Coors Light.
Jimmy Butler's made a pretty good basketball player out of himself, hasn't he? I didn't think when they got him late in the 1st round 6 years ago, I thought he might be a good ball player, but looking like a perennial all-star. Dropped 40 the other night on Denver, I believe it was, and so always fun to catch them right here on Comcast.
Yeah, different looking Bulls team this year with Butler taking that next step up. Wade, Rondo.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish I could figure out what their scheme was on offense or defense.
I'm just saying it's a different look.
Yeah, it's a very different look, and it seems to be working for him. And you know, Fred Hoiberg's doing a nice job, but from game to game, you know, it's hard to say, oh, that's what they do.
It's 2nd and 9. Miller dodged one, could not get away from another. The sack will go to Lamontre Harvey. That's his 11th sack of the season.
You know, Dave, it looked like a jailbreak, but when you see the replay, you're going to realize it's just those 3 down linemen and 1 linebacker coming. And those 3 down guys, especially in the middle, they get there so fast. And then it's Lamontre Harvey again coming up the middle. Lamontre, I'm sorry.
See number 78, right tackle, Tony Little. He had a tough time handling Javontes Spraggins, and that set it up for Harvey. 3rd and very long. And picked off. That will end the drive drive, the interception to Malcolm Bell.
Intercepted by 21, Malcolm Bell.
So Bell with a great tackle, comes back a couple plays later with the interception.
And we know he's a good tackler, Dave, with 79 on the season, but I believe that might be his first pick of the year. At least I didn't see one on the score sheet if he had one before.
Right man, right spot.
It's interesting. I'm looking at these East St. Louis kids, and I see the sizes on the roster, and especially the guys up front. I expect them to be at least a little thick or a little portly. They all look like Olympic decathletes. They look like just a bunch of incredible athletes, and the way they run is really impressive.
That was a 4-minute and 10-second drive for Plainfield North. Did exactly as you wanted them to do, Hub. It just turns out the turnover ends the drive and opens it up here for East St. Louis across the 45-yard line. Jarrell Anderson gets the call.
You know, obviously you don't want to end on a turnover, Dave, but I think there is benefit in that for Plainfield North if they can get a stop here. I mean, because at the end of the day, regardless of what you're doing on offense, if East St. Louis can go down the field every time, it doesn't matter. But if they can get a stop here, they should have some confidence on offense. Now they know there's some things they can do. You've got to get some help from your defense.
See how deep Anderson lines up behind the line. Charlando Robinson comes up in the slot left, and a little bit of confusion there as Eric Owens was trying to pass through as well.
Yeah, that didn't look right from the get-go. They had two guys in motion there. They were not set yet, so that's why there's no flag, but obviously they had a different play call from the two running backs.
This because starting Monday, December 5th, you can break away from the same old sports shows and get your social on with In the Loop right here on CSN. It's your fast-paced, fresh daily take on sports featuring trending topics, viral videos, and you. In the Loop with Luke Stuckmeyer and Layla Rahimi premieres Monday, December 5th at 6 o'clock on CSN. And we'll see whether East St. Louis got things all squared away here. They'll start this set of downs at the 46-yard line. To the short side of the field. Anderson, and he will be buried. You talk about a tackle. How about Rob Stopkowitz? 5'10", 185-pound senior. Coach Tim Kane says doesn't get a lot of recognition. In fact, Stopkowitz didn't even really start at the beginning of the season, just worked his way into that lineup, and he sticks a man here.
It's a really nice stick. You know, East St. Louis is lining up in what looks like a spread, and then they're bringing two backs in motion. One first, he's set, the second back comes. They end up in an offset I. Plainfield's not moving with all that motion, so either it's good scouting or it's a lot of wasted motion by East St. Louis.
Still a gain of about 4 on first down. Estes looking, wrong spot, interception. Anthony Fumagalli, he'll pick it off and bring it back 10 yards, and that will stop the East St. Louis drive.
Well, and there's some poetic justice there because, of course, it was Fumagalli who got scorched by Jeff Thomas on the last possession. He comes back and picks one off. You know, for Estes, he has not thrown a lot of interceptions this year. As a matter of fact, I'm only showing 2, so pretty unusual for him to put the ball in harm's way like he just did.
He was looking for Eric Owens, and I thought he had him. And you see number 9, Owens, Fumagalli right there, though.
That was just a bad throw that got away from Estes, and Fumagalli, playing center field for the most part, was in the right place at the right time.
And is this another encroachment call?
It is.
Encroachment defense.
John Kelly, our referee, makes that call for you. He's joined the officiating crew by William Jones, Mark Chesherick, Ken Koleth, and Stephen McLaughlin.
You know, Dave, they don't identify the guilty parties in high school, which I think is appropriate. There's no point in calling these young men out. But there's got to be one guy on that line who's doing the same thing each time, because we're not seeing any movement up here.
Well, there's some folks, you can see it from the angle there, they are pretty tight on that line. And cornerbacks, safeties, no flag on that play, incompletion.
Pass is incomplete.
Miller's thrown the ball a little bit more than I expected coming in here. It's already his 7th pass attempt of the night.
Yeah, this gets back to whatever they saw in film all week long, because Coach Kane indicated to us they wanted to run the football for the most part. I'm sure they'll get into it if they can have some success and get into some more 3rd and short situations.
Hoosman will get the call, and he will be stopped and pushed back. And out of there comes Lamontre Harvey. How many times will we say his name tonight?
Ball carrier brought down by Lamontre.
Well, I'll tell you what was kind of unfair about that. Johnny Goodson's a decent-sized wide receiver at 6'2", 205, but he gave up 50 pounds and just got blown up on that. He tried to meet Harvey in the hole. Harvey won that battle and then stood up the running back.
That's the case if you're on that offensive line, or in this case, receiver Goodson, and you hear that that ball is coming behind you. You see Harvey in front of you. You got to make a bit of a mental adjustment.
Go low, cross-body block.
3rd and long. And it will be 4th and long. The ball never got there, knocked down by Taylor Cook. Cook thought he should have had a pick there.
I think we see with each possession, Dave, East St. Louis is crowding that line of scrimmage a little bit more, as you pointed out. I mean, there you've got 8 guys up on the line, only 3 DBs back. It was a nice diagnosis and jump to knock the ball down, but there was just too much traffic to get that football through.
Brady Miller, punt formation.
You saw Cook get off the ground in a hurry. Once again, Miller will kick. Thomas with the chance, and it kicks sideways on him.
A little better. Miller could just keep it on the playing field. He can get us 30, 35 yards out of it.
And that's exactly what it was, a 35-yard punt for Brady Miller. So we've exchanged some turnovers, tossed some punts, and we still sit at a 12-0 score here, coming up on the midpoint of the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen, Dave, obviously the interception from Estes helped Plainfield North out. But again, we talked about settling some things down, getting some rhythm, getting a couple first downs. They did that on the previous possession. It slowed East St. Louis a little bit. If they can keep it here at 12-zip, a couple score game, get themselves in the end zone, they're right back in it.
It's the worst field position of the day for the Flyers.
This is where you wonder if they're just going to say, send Thomas deep. What do we got to lose?
Well, they sent him for 43 yards and a touchdown pass in the 1st quarter. Instead, it's Anderson. Like he might get a little bit more with that Plainfield North defense, which has been so tough. After starting the season 3-2, 8 straight wins. There's Dillon McCarthy in the middle of that play. They have tightened it up in the postseason. Shutout, only 1 touchdown allowed to Auburn. They had only 1 touchdown allowed to Fenwick until the overtime period. So we said 8 games. Tigers have allowed opponents a touchdown or less. Close to a first down for Anderson.
It's a tough spot. I think he's going to be about a foot short.
Jig Brown, ball carrier. 60, Leo Santos.
Right in the eyes of Will Stoll. 6'1", 215-pound senior. 9 tackles for loss, 96 total tackles coming into this game.
It's another one of those turning point moments here, Dave. If Plainfield North can get a stuff, they're going to get decent field position. You do not want to give another set of downs to this explosive East St. Louis offense.
See, it's less than a yard here for the Flyers. And a yard is all they got out of it, but it will be a first down. We had a drive earlier for East St. Louis, 5 minutes and 40 seconds, took 11 plays, and they had a 1-play, 7-second drive. So we've seen a little bit of both from East St. Louis here today.
I wonder if Coach Sunkett's going to take the air out of the ball a little bit after that last pick. There's 3 straight runs for you. I think they're probably going to want to at least change the field position a little bit and let Estes get his feet under him before he puts the ball up again.
About a 10-mile-per-hour wind at the Flyers' back. Temperature in the low 40s. Feels like about 35 degrees. Gorgeous day here for football. Estes turns. He's able to get past one, past another. They're not completely there, boy. If he had been able to turn that corner, we could have seen something.
Yeah, it might have looked like he tripped over a blade of grass. I think it was one of the Plainfield North defenders just got a shoelace. But you know what? Even getting back to the line of scrimmage, which he did, was nice work on that play because he was dead to rights once, twice in the backfield before, 3 times before he managed to get back to the line.
On the stop, Tim Donahue, he laid out to stop Estes. Loss of a yard on the play. 3 receivers to the wide side of the field, right up there at the top of your screen. The white is Jeff Thomas, but first, we will have a timeout.
Timeout. East St. Louis.
You know, David, it feels like East St. Louis has got the best of the play. They do, but remember they were up 12-zip at the end of the first quarter. For the Flyers to only have 12 points with 3:50 left in the half, a little bit unusual for this football team. Plainfield North not doing a horrible job on defense.
Here is how East St. Louis found their way to Champaign. It was the journey that was shortened last year. In fact, stopped after 4 total games. The playoffs opened up with the 44-7 win over Lakeway West. It was a last-second pass from Estes to Jeff Thomas and enabled the Flyers to knock off Glenbard North 32-28. Spectacular throw, spectacular catch for the win in that one. We also talked about the win over Bennett Academy earlier. You saw the big win by Willowbrook. Here's Plainfield North, that round 2 game, the 49-20 game over Bradley Bourbonnais, and a 30-7 dominating win over Rockford Auburn that set up the overtime victory over Fenwick.
Bradley Bourbonnais, the #1 seeded undefeated leaders in Class 7A before getting knocked off by Plainfield North.
A lot of folks thought it would be Bradley Bourbonnais and East St. Louis here tonight, but Plainfield North made a great run for a program that had never won a playoff game before. They get the ball to Thomas. Look out! A flag is down, though. Thomas, nobody's going to catch him. With a great move at the 5-yard line, but this one will likely come back.
It is. That's Charlando Robertson with a hold. It was a tackle, actually. Really unfortunate to see. You've also got Ronaldus Estes is down, and he appears to be writhing in pain. I did not see him get hit. It was a great pass rush. It looked like he was going down for the sack. He got the ball away on the screen. Charlton's going to get the holding penalty and injury to insult. Estes is going to have to leave the field, it appears. He took a really good shot.
Blocking the back. Offense.
Rayondas Estes, what a year he had last year. Let's take a look at the play first. Donahue with the push on Estes. And here's Thomas. He doesn't know there's a flag behind him. But Estes, last year he only played in 4 ball games. And then a serious car accident. A car accident that found Estes in a coma for a while. It was touch and go whether Ray Estes would survive. Obviously, he has not only survived but thrived.
We'll take another look at that hit in a moment, but the penalty on Robertson, that blocking the back is kind. That was a tackle. That was just a good shot in the chest, and he went backwards, and I don't know, breastbone, that's a little higher than what you would normally associate with getting the wind knocked out of him. He's talking to Coach Sunkett over on the sideline, so I don't know that he's even going to miss a play, actually.
Doesn't look all that comfortable, however. I'm not sure what the delay is right now.
It may be, I know it's a college and a pro rule, he may have to sit out a play because the trainer came out of the field to help him off. So I assume that is what it is. He looks like he's trying to shake it off. It's
Number
hard
5
to tell.
has to sit out one play.
There we go.
Coaches run the field to attend to him.
It looks like his left arm or left wrist is dangling a little bit. So we'll try and get more information for you on that. We'll see first if he comes back out on the next play. I got a hunch that's what he wants to do. And we'll see if Coach Sunkett's going to let him.
Second down and long. Eric Johnson, sophomore, in at quarterback. Anderson nowhere to go to the left side. He is lucky to get what he does. He grabbed around the ankles by number 25, Shane McGrail.
And here comes Mr. Estes.
3-year starter, is already committed to Missouri.
It's third down, third and
He's coming in this play. You better hurry.
Yeah, there's only 16 seconds left on the play clock as he gets the call from Coach Sunkett. Looks like he's flexing that left wrist.
Yeah,
So that must be what it is.
I'm not sure he's comfortable with that.
Yeah, he's got 5 seconds and counting to get it off. Down to 3. He better snap the ball. No, didn't get it off. Well,
They did. He will look to create. Boy, that shows you right there the ability of Ray Estes.
run out of bounds by 33.
Great vision, the speed and the moves to get something out of nothing.
and that is a friendly swallowed whistle because the clock did go double zeros before he snapped it. He's carrying that left forearm, left wrist. I think that's where he took the shot. He used it there for a stiff arm at the end before he went out of bounds, and then you could see him flexing it and kind of wincing out of bounds. So I'm guessing that that's where the problem is. He's back on the sidelines now for this punt.
His facial expression tells you everything. Low kick and a good hop. And a dangerous pickup there by Kevin Block.
We've got a flag down back here at the 27 that came out right after the snap. That was a dangerous looking snap, by the way. It came back like kind of a lollipop.
There's a penalty flag on the play.
Let's check out this penalty.
Illegal formation, offense.
Well, I think Plainfield North wants them to kick again for the reason you just mentioned, Hub. The snap wasn't pretty. It was a low kick. And this is exactly something, if the Tigers can take advantage of something like that they need at this stage of this game.
Yeah, that snap almost looked like the center hit his leg with it or something. It just kind of popped up. It had no speed to it. It wasn't a line drive. It was just kind of a thrown up ball.
Here's the snap. It was just a...
Might have scuffed it along the ground as he went to bring it back. He didn't get it away clean. That was clear.
So Cook will back up 5 yards farther. He'll hit this one at about the 10-yard line. And there will be good field position here for Plainfield North. The return men up near midfield. Nearly blocked, my goodness. And this will roll, and the net effect will be just about the same.
I hate calling out high school kids, but I think what we just learned is that the deep snapper for East St. Louis just isn't all that good at it because it looked the same. Instead of the line drive snap, you want to get back to the punter. It's just not getting back there very quick. And I'm not sure how Plainfield North missed the block on that because it sure looked like somebody was there.
38-yard punt. Defensively for East St. Louis, that's Lamontre Harvey. Already 6 tackles, 3.5 for loss, and a sack. Plainfield North, 30 yards of offense. They'll get a few more tacked onto there. They have 30 yards of offense. East St. Louis, 30 yards in penalties.
It's really interesting looking at Harvey. They list him at 6'2", 255, but he is sleek from the waist up. He's got huge thighs and calves on him. I almost wonder what his best position in college is going to be.
He buckles it up and he looks right into the eyes of center Will Zito. Almost to the outside. Huseman will get a couple of yards. Tyler Huseman came into this ball game with 1,625 yards.
Didn't kind of quiet so far today. A lot of that is the incredible quickness with which this East St. Louis defense responds. They react as quickly as any high school team I've seen.
They've only allowed 35 yards of total offense, and we are down to the final minute of the first half. Flea flicker. Miller. Knocked away. Great coverage on the play by Markevian Darrow.
Yeah, the problem was Miller just didn't have time to look down the field because T.J. Kane over the middle was open by 10 yards. There was nobody near him, and Miller did not have time to survey the secondary and find him down there.
See Ryan Kristofiak not feeling too well himself.
A little hitch in his giddy up there. That looks like one of the legs is the problem. These guys are taking some big hits out there.
Yeah, there is speed and power going on. Miller, nice kick. And that is exactly what he wanted to do. Thomas has not been able to get his hands on the ball as a punt returner. That one goes for 41 yards. 52 seconds here for East St. Louis, a 12-0 lead, a couple of touchdowns in the first quarter. 2 touchdown passes for Ray Estes, one to James Knight and one to Jeff Thomas.
Obviously, Coach Kane has some adjustments to figure out for his offense at halftime, but he's got to feel good about his defense. I mean, coming into the second period, you're down 12-zip. East St. Louis has had a long drive. They've struck quick, and now I know there's 52 seconds to go. I don't want to jinx them here, but with 85 yards to go, it looks like the Plainfield North defense has kept their team in this game going into the locker room.
Yardage numbers 135 to just 37. 43 of those 135 yards came on one play. Estes sidelines and run out of there. Great coverage downfield, and then great pursuit by the linebacking core once again. You see Ari Ikawa, Will Stoll. There's number 53, Will Stoll. 55, Ikawa.
We should point out Ari Ikawa, the only all-state player in this game. He is an all-state selection for Plainfield North, had a great season. And you know, Estes lost that ball going out of bounds, and he's holding that left arm again. You see him getting up on the sideline. I think this young man's playing hurt. Be interesting to see, you know, you go in for the half and it kind of stiffens up on you. I hope he can come out for the second half. It's obviously bothering him right now.
Short gain, clock down to 38 seconds and running. Anderson with that carry. Neither team shows any inclination or desire to stop this clock.
Yeah, I think Coach sunk it. You know, the fact that Estes is obviously playing hurt, the fact that he threw that one pick, you've got a 2-score lead. Maybe it's discretion is better part of valor here to get into the locker room with that 2-score lead rather than taking a chance.
It's likely will be the final snap here in the first half. It will come from 5 yards farther back. Then it starts. Darren sunk at a state championship in 2008, one of 7 state titles St. Louis has. They have finished second 3 times.
That was either DeMond Taylor or Walter Baxter jumped up. He's pointing at the defensive guy. The problem, son, is that they can move. You can't. So.
And Estes will let this clock run down. So no scoring in the second quarter. East St. Louis gets their 2 touchdown passes, misses both of their 2-point conversions, and that takes us to this 12-0 lead for the Flyers. And the defenses that we had talked about and Edgy Tim had talked about coming in. Hub 142 yards. That's pretty good work, holding East St. Louis 142, and then Plainfield North just 37 yards.
Yeah, obviously, if you're East St. Louis, you're happy going to the locker room with a 2-score lead, but I got a feel for Plainfield North. They could have been out of this game early. They buckled down on defense in the second quarter. They got the big takeaway. The defense helped keep that offense in the game. You make a couple adjustments here. The other thing we've got to keep an eye on is Estes. I mean, that left arm is clearly bothering him. It's not his throwing arm. So good chance that he can go on. But when you see him getting up after every play, wincing and grabbing for it, you wonder if he's going to be able to finish this football game.
Walking slowly off right alongside is Coach Darren Sunkett. You saw Coach Sunkett discussing maybe more than just a banged up arm. We talked about Darren Sunkett with the state title. The other 6 come from the legendary Bob Shannon, the head coach of the Flyers.
That is a famous name in football.
With Darren Sunkett here on headset in just a moment. It's a long walk from that East St. Louis sideline down to the northwest corner of the end zone here at Memorial Stadiums. And with us right now, head coach Darren Sunkett. Coach, defensively, everything that you could have hoped for, your guys have done here in the first half.
Yeah, our guys are playing very well defensively. We just got to get a little more consistent on offense. We had a couple shots that I thought we missed on, and we just got to clean a few things up. That's all.
Coach, Rayondas Estes looks to be favoring that left arm a little bit after that shot he took. Do you think he's going to be okay for the second half?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He just fell on his shoulder. He's a little sore, but he'll be okay.
You comfortable with where you're at overall?
Yeah. Like I said, I would like to get just a little more consistency out my offense. But other than that, I think we're going to be okay.
All right, very good. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That's Darren Sunkett, the head coach of East St. Louis Flyers. His team on top, 12-0. A couple of touchdown passes from quarterback Rayondas Estes. And that's your lead here at the half of the 7A title game on CSN.
We are at halftime at the 7A state title game where East St. Louis has a 12-zip lead. We're here in the studio alongside Edgy Tim. I'm Sierra Santos, and through that first half, it really felt like Plainfield North was getting dominated, but it's 12-0. They're still in this game.
I don't think I can remember a more dominant 12-0 halftime lead. I mean, East St. Louis defensively just swarming, and we talked about all gas, no brakes to start the game. That definitely described the defense. Yet Sierra, on the other hand, if Ray Estes can't throw the football, that makes that offense very one-dimensional. And I think Plainfield North is very much in this game.
Yeah, and Darren Sunkett said that he was okay. He just fell on his shoulder. He should be fine. But you bring that up, you bring in the defense. He was happy with the way his defense played in the first half, as he should be. They were fast, and they looked awfully tough to beat. What's going to take for them to advance in the second half and really pull away, and especially what's going on special teams with them?
Right. Well, special teams have been an issue all year. Not a whole lot of extra points that have been kicked this year because it's just not very good, not very well defined. Not much of a punting game either because, let's face it, you look at that offense, they haven't had to punt a whole lot this year. So that's a big factor. So, I mean, I think if you're Plainfield North going into this, at 12-0, Tim Kaine has to be thrilled that they still have a shot. You have to find a way of getting something going offensively. In the meantime, win special teams, force a turnover, and, hey, North's defense has been their best offense a lot of the time this year. Maybe the defense can come up with a turnover and a score. Sierra, if that happens, it's a totally different ballgame in the second half.
And you talk about those special teams. They failed on the two-point conversion both times. And then the total yards of offense in the first quarter just seemed so lopsided. You had East St. Louis with 99 total yards. And then you had, of course, Plainfield North with just 4.
Right. It was just this, and it was the pace of those 4 yards that they gained. They earned every single one of those 4 yards. You talk about laying the wood. There's some hits going on in this ball game, yet it's a 12-0 lead. It's still very much a close ball game. Amazing.
Yeah, and Sunkett said they're going to need to clean some things up in order to pull away in the second half. We'll have to see how Ray Estes recovers, especially after falling on that shoulder. He seems to be favoring one arm, but that has yet to be determined.
Maybe Jeff Thomas and a Wildcat in the second half. I mean, Ray Estes' legs alone is better than a lot of quarterbacks out there. It's just unfamiliarity at the biggest stage. It could definitely wind up being an issue.
Well, we will be back in just a bit with our Country Financial Memorable Moment.
We had gotten beat by Sparta like 106-65 at their house. They beat us again, 89-81. They basically had the regional championship wrapped up and party going on, but they had to play us again. Ran out of the gym into the crowd, and it was packed. Extra seating was brought in. We ran into overtime. We ended up being actually 191-89 in overtime. Buzzer went off, and it was about as big as a Super Bowl, you know, for Chester, Illinois. It really was. It was that big. The best thing I like about my job is dealing with people and try to help people, you know, from their vantage point. High school sports probably drove me to the point of getting to the point where I'm at today because of the ability not to want to lose, not to finish second. I've had some good moments. Hopefully I'll have my 15th All-American this year.
Welcome back. We are smack dab in the middle of our IHSA state championship coverage on CSN Chicago. We are at halftime with East St. Louis leading 12-0 over Plainfield North. And we started the game with something we haven't seen a whole lot of today. I think we have it in the highlights as well.
I think we do. Let's take a look.
All right. We start out 2 defensive stops in the first half. First one, James Knight. Second one is going to be Plainfield's J.J. Frey. You actually pointed this out as soon as it happened as well.
Look, kids, 2 defensive stops to start a series for each team. Yay!
Yeah, and it was something we haven't seen a whole lot of today, and it was good. And boy, East St. Louis, they're so fast on defense, and there's James Knight scrambling for the first down as well. That set up this. Ray Estes to James Knight, 7 yards out. That led to a failed 2-point conversion, and that was the second possession of the game. It ate up 5:40 of clock, and then we go to this one, a beautiful 43-yard touchdown reception from Jeff Thomas. He bobbled it a little bit.
Not a good day to let him get behind you if you're a defensive back.
Absolutely not. And then you got this interception, Malcolm Bell. So East St. Louis takes over. But what happens right after that, Edgy?
Well, here we go. Play action pass, boot, and an interception. More defense, yay!
Yeah, Plainfield North takes over. They ended up going 3 and out, but still provided a little bit of momentum change throughout the game. And here are your first half stats. What stands out to you on the stat sheet?
Well, I mean, you know, 32 yards passing, 5 yards rushing for Plainfield North. It's not good. Got to find a way to get something going offensively. Yet, as we talked about, Sierra, not overwhelmingly on offense for East St. Louis either. They've obviously been able to convert on some of their great defense, but again, offensively, still a lot to be desired in this ballgame, and credit to the defense, as we said. Just a big part of this game is, again, speed versus speed. That definitely goes for defense.
And 6 penalties for 35 yards, so they're going to need to clean up their game a little bit in the second half as well. What are you looking for in the second half?
Well, someone has to get something going offensively. I'm looking to see if Ray Estes is able to throw the ball in the first series, and if they can't, how they adjust.
All right, second half coming up real soon. East St. Louis leading 12-0 over Plainfield North in the 7A state title game.
It's a 12-0 lead for East St. Louis here as we get set to start the second half with us head coach Tim Kane of Plainfield North. And coach, 37 yards of offense. You knew this defense was going to be like this. What sort of adjustments have you made or can you make?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, they're certainly playing well and sniffing out a lot of different things that we do. You know, we got to put some drives together, keep them off balance a little bit better. You know, we've been able to run block earlier in the year, but their defense is doing a nice job. There's no doubt.
Coach, the thing you had to feel good about was your defense in the second quarter. This is also a tough offensive night for East St. Louis by their standards. Your guys seem to real buckle down and keep you in the game.
Yeah, we have. You know, we gave up that long play there at the end of the first quarter that kind of killed us a little bit, but we gathered ourselves, got ourselves settled down a little bit and started playing a little bit better defensively, which we got to keep doing. Obviously, we got to keep them off the board and find a way to get some points on the board for us.
I was going to say, you nearly had a punt block. You're looking for a turnover right now, right?
Yeah, you know, it'd be nice to get a turnover. You know, as you can tell, we tried a few different trick plays and stuff, just try to, you know, see if we can catch them sleeping, but they're doing a good job playing disciplined, and we need to definitely get a turnover, be nice, or a punt block, something like that.
All right, good luck in the second half. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's Tim Kane, the head coach of Plainfield North. Dave Bernhardt and Hub Arkish here high atop Memorial Stadium. And Hub, it's maybe a crazy question when we knew there were two great defenses, but are you surprised that there's not been a little more offense?
Well, I'm certainly surprised by East St. Louis, only 142 yards in the first half. That is really out of character for them. It's a compliment and a credit to Plainfield North. You flip it around, the way that East St. Louis flies to the ball, you had a feeling that Plainfield might struggle a little bit more, but I'm very impressed with the way those kids kept on defense, the way they kept their team in the game in the second quarter. 12-0 at halftime. This is still anybody's football game.
You know, and it becomes even more of a football game if Ray Estes is unable to go at full strength.
Yeah, and Brady Miller seemed to he got a little more comfortable. I don't know if he's found himself yet, but early on we saw the two shank punts. He was struggling, had a nice scramble there in the second quarter, the one time down close to the red zone. So I think that Plainfield has to feel good about the fact that they're in this football game. But now, what were the adjustments on offense? Can they find a way to score on this East St. Louis defense? You know, Dave, I've been covering a lot of football games a lot of years. I've never seen a high school team fly to the ball and strike the way these East St. Louis kids do.
And they have got a 12-0 lead. The East St. Louis Flyers headed to their sideline. And we will head to the third quarter. The quarter that obviously people say will impact the game more than any other in the first, 5-6 minutes. I think we're going to have a lot of our questions that we just brought up answered, including one right there with number 5, Ray Estes.
Yeah, Coach Sunkett was pretty confident that it was just a little bit of a bruise. He'll shake it off, but Estes did not look at all comfortable at the end of the second quarter. Now he's moving better on the sidelines right now. You see him there. Doesn't seem to be favoring that left shoulder or that left arm, but that is something that we're going to watch very carefully because it was obviously a problem for him as the second quarter wound down.
Plainfield North will get their hands on the ball first. They had won the toss prior to the game, deferred to the second half. And there's Brady Miller. Miller in the first half, 3 of 9 for 32 yards. He did throw one interception. His long was 18 yards. His favorite receiver, Connor Peplow, a couple of catches for 29 yards. In terms of the rushing game, Tyler Hoosman, 7 carries for 14 yards for Plainfield North.
You know, the other thing that really jumps off the stat sheet at you, Dave, is you've got Jeff Thomas, just 2 catches for 44 yards. Now, albeit 43 of them on the 1 touchdown, but if you'd have told Plainfield at halftime just 2 catches for 44 yards in the first half, I think you would have felt pretty good about that.
Well, and he had 1 touch on a rush. That was early in the ball game, only picked up a yard. So I have to believe that Jeff Thomas is going to touch the ball more than 3 times here in the second half. This return will come to the near side. Kevin Block. And Plainfield North starting at the 25, and here comes a flag. As people are starting to peel off that pile.
That's going to be, I think, a late hit. I think somebody got in there a little later. They're claiming now that they were pushed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what that flag is going to be.
And a dead ball. Personal foul. 27 blue.
And that will push that ball up about 15 yards. So the Tigers find themselves out at the 40-yard line, exactly where they want it to be. Boy, right there. Boy, that was very late, incredibly late. East St. Louis player, saw number 27, Alfonso Rice, a sophomore. Not sure if he saw that whole play in front of him.
This young man doesn't get a lot of playing time. He's probably not going to get a lot more in the second half either.
Nice little catch there by Miller. Hoosman hit immediately, and for the second time today, a catch is made right on contact. And again, it's James Knight sticks Hoosman.
And that is a really dangerous throw. I understand that that was the play they set up. Obviously, they had the whole half to come out and say, we're going to do that first. But Ken Dixon got there so early, he didn't even think to look at the ball. He was lining up the big hit. He might have picked that ball if he'd have been focused on the football.
It's a loss of 2 yards on the completion. Trying to pitch to get it to the outside to Hoosman. There is no outside to be had. We saw Ken Dixon in on the stop. Dixon pursuing. He has 10 sacks on the season. That's not a sack. It'll be a tackle for a loss as Dixon, 6 foot, 200-pound senior linebacker.
Well, Dave, far be it from me to challenge the Plainfield North coaches, but generally when you're facing a defense with this kind of speed and movement ability, you don't want to spend your time testing the edges because they're going to get there first. I'm surprised that they're not trying to pound away a little bit more between the tackles. I know how big and stout East St. Louis is up there, but it would just seem they might have a little more success in the middle than trying to get to the edge.
Need 10 yards here on 3rd down. Motion from Peplow. Looking for Peplow, and he get his hands underneath it. He did. He will be short of the 1st down, however.
Yeah, that is a lot of folks' pet peeve. You've got 3rd and 10. You throw a 5-yard pass that he isn't going to be able to run with. I'm not even sure he caught the football, as a matter of fact. You take, well, yeah, I think he had that arm underneath it. Maybe he did.
There's a couple of really nice grabs that Peplow has made. Signed to play baseball at Illinois State University. He had the game-tying field goal with no time left on the clock. That semifinal win over Fenwick. Miller's kick, not a pretty one, but Thomas is not going to touch this one. This looks like first 2 kicks that Brady Miller had in the first half. That one for 25 yards.
You know, it's interesting. Jeff Thomas is lining up deep enough that I'm not sure that Brady Miller can get it there on the fly anyway. He'd be better off kicking those low-line drives down the middle and trying to get some roll, because he's kicking them to the sidelines and they're just bending right out of bounds and they're getting nothing out of their punts.
Darren Sunkett will make sure that offense is exactly as he wants here as he sends his team out onto the field just as the play clock rolls. Good field position here for the Flyers to start the 2nd half. Jeff Thomas split wide to the right side all by himself out there. Kevin Block, top defensive back for Plainfield North, on him. On the ground to Anderson. Anderson grabbed initially by Zach Nadel. Anderson stopped. Anderson gets good yardage on 1st down.
Dillon McCarthy and number 54, J.J. Fry.
It's going to be a little point counterpoint, if you will. Plainfield North came out pretty much throwing the football again, even though we keep calling for the running game. And you've got now East St. Louis. They go right to the ground. Let's see if they stay there and try and protect Estes a little bit.
Jarrell Anderson will leave. It's unusual now to see, even at the high school level, a quarterback that's under center. And up will go to Jig Brown for his first carry of the game. Brown had a 118-yard rushing effort in the final win over Willowbrook. Also scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, not bad when your backup can come in. 128 for 788 on the year. He also averages 6 yards a catch, and he had 15 touchdowns on the season. So it's pretty good depth at the position.
Brown decided to cut inside beyond his gun. And Gunn had his man pinned for an outside run. 3rd and 2. Brown enough for the 1st down. He'll stretch it out before he's ankle tackled down by J.J. Fry.
St. Louis, 1st down. Tackled by J.J. Fry.
For Jarrell Anderson on the sideline, I wouldn't expect him to stay out of this game too long. He certainly has been the go-to guy for this team at running back.
It's an East St. Louis team that ended Edwardsville's 30-game Southwestern Conference winning streak this season. Better get this snap off in a hurry. And they just do. Brown 3 carries in a row, each one a little bit shorter than the rest. Number 58, Tyshawn Taylor with that tackle. And there is Jarrell Anderson. He's just giving time here to Brown.
Yards, it's 2nd down and 8 at the 50-yard line.
Yeah, Anderson's certainly not in any distress on the sidelines. Obviously, Jig Brown has earned himself some playing time here.
Anderson with 52 yards rushing tonight and 13 carries. Brown will set up on the right side of Estes, who will throw. Or not. How about Tim Donahue? He shoots through, drops Estes for a loss of 8.
I'd like to get another look at that one. It looked like a little bit of a delayed blitz. He took one step and then came around on a stunt and came through a hole you could drive a truck through. Normally Estes, with that great quickness, is going to be able to avoid it, but by the time he saw him, it was too late as Donahue was flying to the football.
You know, we've talked about the speed of the East St. Louis defense, and that's quite obvious, but Plainfield North, some people with some wheels as well, and you saw Donahue coming in hard at 6'2", 210 pounds. Third down and long, 19 yards to go for a first down. That play clock again down to 3, down to 2, to 1, and they just get that snap off again. Estes lets it go into traffic. It is caught. Coming from nowhere is Jeff Thomas. That ball was not thrown to Thomas. At least Thomas was not in the vicinity when Estes let go.
Personal foul, defense, touchdown.
That was a late hit on Estes, who goes to the sideline favoring that shoulder and arm again. You know, actually, Dave, I think he was throwing it at Thomas. Thomas was running a deep post, and it looked like he just perfectly placed it between double coverage because Thomas ran right underneath it. And yeah, as you see the replay, Estes is looking to him. It was the other receiver. I mean, you see Thomas come into your picture, and it was the other receiver coming from Estes' left that I don't think he ever saw. Yeah, that's definitely late, and it wasn't that big a deal, but when you get there that late, you're going to get 15.
Roughing the passer, defense, touchdown.
This goes for 61 yards.
Works on the kickoff.
Thomas's second touchdown reception, the third touchdown pass of this game for Ray Estes, and the lead goes to 18-0. First two touchdowns resulted in no extra point conversions. Once again, Flyers looking for 2. And they get in, yes. 1 out of 3 and 2-point conversions. The pass from Estes to Eric Owens, and it is a 20-0 East St. Louis lead. Estes takes the hit, but delivers the blow on the other end. He is a 3-year starter, headed to University of Missouri. Ray Estes with 3 touchdown passes tonight. And on the other end of these passes, another future Division I player, Jeff Thomas.
And Dave, we talk about the incredible speed and athleticism of Thomas, but the way that Estes laid that ball in there, the reason at first you weren't sure if he was the target is because I didn't catch the number. There was a receiver coming from the left who I think ran the wrong route, ran right underneath it, because it looked on the replay, you could see Estes looking to his right. He saw Thomas all the way, and he just dropped that ball in perfectly for Thomas to run underneath it.
See this ball being teed up at the 45-yard line. That personal foul penalty on that touchdown pass. It's where a lot of teams like to onside kick right from here. See what Taylor Cook decides to do. His team on top, 20-0. That was the score that the Flyers defeated Bennett in the semifinals 1 week ago. Capizio. That's a nice return near the 30-yard line.
It'll be interesting to see now how Plainfield North responds, because that's sudden change football. You got the big sack from Donahue, you're 3rd and 17. You think you're going to get the ball back again with a stop, and then you get the big play to Thomas, those game-breaking type plays. Plainfield North, now they can't just settle for a couple first downs. They've got to get some points on the board, where this one could get away from them quickly.
16-yard return, and that's where the yardage has come tonight for Plainfield North. From scrimmage, only 43 yards of offense. 6:22 left here in the third quarter. Start on the ground. Hoosman dives forward. Ball free, but Hoosman was down.
I'd like to see him stay with some of that, Dave. It's a nice 6-yard pickup on first down. It was quick to the line of scrimmage. You don't give the East St. Louis defense a chance to run with the football. Obviously, with that big front of East St. Louis, you're going to get stopped once in a while, but when you keep trying to test those edges, East St. Louis is just getting there before Plainfield is getting the ball out there.
Nice 6-yard pickup on first down for Hoosman. Ken Dixon, number 7, has been on a few plays for the Flyers. Hoosman again has another big hole. And that looks like the first possession, or the second possession actually, of Plainfield North had tonight. A couple of first down runs off guard and tackle for Hoosman.
The one advantage Plainfield North can find here is numbers. They've got the 3 down linemen and then 2 linebackers kind of in a 2-point stance on either side of them. So it is that 5-2-4 look, really more of a 5-1-5 look with Jeff Thomas kind of roving out there. But when you get the numbers up front, you can guarantee yourself a seam and a chance to get there more quickly. And at least on those last 2 plays, some success for Plainfield North with it.
Once again. Time it's Dillon McCarthy. So right, left, right. The stop by Dixon along with Terrion Williams. Williams, a junior, likely one of the future Division I players for East St. Louis.
That one was what some teams will call a wham. I'm trying to find, I can't pick up the number of the receiver who led him into the hole, but he had a lead blocker, put a shoulder on the man in the hole, and was able to scoot off for just a couple yards.
I believe the Tigers would like to take a timeout. We will do the same. 4:29 to play here in the 3rd quarter of your 7A championship. It's a shutout being pitched by the East St. Louis Flyers. Here at Memorial Stadium, tension fills the air in what promises to be an epic Class 8A title fight as Maine South looks to avenge an earlier 1-point loss to undefeated and defending state champion Loyola Academy. You can watch the game on air and, of course, online at csnchicago.com or on the NBC Sports app. That's starting tonight at the conclusion of this game. Originally scheduled for a 7 o'clock start, our first game today, 5A game, a long one won by Peoria 62-48 over Vernon Hills. First down carry to Hoosman as he gets into East St. Louis territory. That one goes for 8 yards.
Finding a few creases between the tackles right now. Nice couple first downs, but again, this one can't end with just feeling good about changing the momentum here. They've got to get some points if they're going to stay in this one. Just 4:16 and counting left in the 3rd period, and they're down 20-0.
This 3rd quarter has moved along fairly rapidly. Fresh set of downs here for the Tigers. Down the right sideline, the catch. Did he tuck it in? Peplow, he got it. Yet another grab. A great one by Connor Peplow. 26 yards and a first down.
And that was also Brady Miller's best throw of the evening. He just dropped that in over the top. Peplow extended full out, managed to get his arms underneath the football. Really nice pitch and catch from quarterback and receiver.
You know, watch Peplow here. Slight little roll to make sure he retains possession. And on the ensuing snap, a fumble. East St. Louis says they have it. The man in the white hat's the one in charge.
He says no. He says Plainfield North keeps the football. We did see who came up with it. Usually look for the color of the jersey and the guy with the ball in his hands. So Miller never really got the snap. He was juggling it all along. It looked like Harvey was in there who came away with the football. That's interesting.
That's a pretty good look at it right there. Lamontre Harvey, along with all the fans. In fact, we'll get a shot of the East St. Louis side of the field. A lot of folks made their way up here to Champaign, but for now it's Plainfield North. Dangerous pass, but Peplow will get it. He is flung down by Markavian Darrow. Connor Peplow has been all over the field.
He's obviously Brady Miller's go-to guy at this point in the football game as they are desperate to put 6 on the board. Miller keeps looking for Peplow, and they've had a couple nice plays down the field.
Waiting for that play clock to start. And there it goes.
Get a good look there at Jeff Thomas talking up some of his teammates, getting them ready, calming them down maybe just a little bit. That, of course, Markavian Darrow that he was talking to. So don't worry about it. Short game. You can get beat on those once in a while.
Big 3rd down and 6 here. Motion from Peplow. Picked off at the 15-yard line. To the 40, the Owens will take it to the house. 84-yard interception return. Eric Owens.
Sometimes no point in interrupting the picture. You just knew they were making those dangerous throws out wide. Owens read that all the way. He got to the football before anybody from Plainfield North. It was just a question of a foot race if anybody was going to catch him, and of course nobody did. And that could be a dagger even with a quarter left to play.
Owens just a couple of sideways glances, and that was it. Plainfield North driving deep. They had found a little bit of rhythm, but Owens says, I'm going to turn it the other way. Officially 85 yards on the return. 2-point conversion again. It fails, and with that interception return by Owens, it breaks the Class 6A record of 79 yards by Levent Blaylock. There may not be an interception return in 7A. This could be the first interception return for a touchdown.
Coach Sunkett is fired up on the sidelines. A little leaping belly bump there with his defensive back, Eric Owen. He's getting his guys pumped up now. I think this is probably the first time all night they felt really good about things, Dave. That last score put them in good shape, but now they can really tee off and just go for the football. That's what Owens did on that play. St. Louis is in pretty good shape with 2:23 remaining in the third period.
26-0 lead for the Flyers. They've come out after scoring 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Touchdown pass early in the third, and now a defensive touchdown from Owens. A happy junior right there.
Man, they'll be looking on to lead this football team next year as some of the seniors take off, Thomas and Estes, and that's a good way to get started on that leadership program. Be the guy who just set the record in the state championship game to come back next year.
You know, an INT return is always pretty special, but how about in a state championship ball game from that distance? Well, once again, we've said it a couple of times, Plainfield North just has to take a deep breath right here, realize they moved the ball the last time. Make something positive happen once again.
It doesn't really feel like a 25-0 ball game. I mean, Plainfield North has done some nice things, but all the big plays with East St. Louis.
A couple of long touchdown passes to Thomas. Once again, faking the reverse on the kickoff. Kevin Block just waiting to be hit, and he'll bounce out and then bounce out of bounds.
Dave, sometimes you see coaching in the funniest spots, but that kickoff coverage is the sign of a really well-coached football team. Every one of the East St. Louis kids staying in his lane. You've probably heard that reference before if you watch football games. Each player from where he lines up is supposed to go straight down the field. Do not create a hole in the coverage. And everybody from the far hash over stayed in their lanes. Nobody bought on the fake. And they get a pretty nice field position for their defense at the 25 of Plainfield North.
And that defense is crowding the line of scrimmage. Here they come. To the outside, Hoosman will tiptoe out of bounds. Get a nice gain on first down. That'll be a 6-yard pickup.
He's taking what they give him there, and they're going to have to speed it up a little bit now. I think they know that. You've got to really afford to be running this play clock down every time you get ready to snap the ball.
2:09 to play here in the third quarter. That play finally puts Plainfield North over the 100-yard mark in total offense. You know, on the other side, East St. Louis with just 2:05. And that will be negative yardage. They may be back underneath that 100-yard mark there as Hoosman just ran into number 56, Therese Legrone.
Along with his buddy, Lamontre Harvey was there again. I am so impressed by this kid. I got to tell you, he just flies to the football. He strikes both of them, Legrone and Harvey, and they've just been too much to handle. Actually, Legrone first, and then Harvey getting their second for some cleanup duty that time. But boy, those two young men, they have a nose for the football.
Boy, I don't know how you handle those two for 48 minutes of football. Miller will get it to Kane, and that We'll see the spot. They'll give him enough for the first down. First catch of the night for T.J. Kane.
I always wonder what it's like to be the coach's son. I'm guessing that's probably a little tougher than the rest of the guys on the football team. Kind of hard not to take it home with you when you're riding home with Dad after practice. And I got to believe there's always the temptation to mention a few things that went on out there.
Well, I was going to say it takes both sides, right? The dad has to know and the son has to realize that when Dad is talking football, when Dad is talking as a dad. And the pursuit comes and gets Peplow. Again, how many times have we called James Knight's name tonight? We just keep going down. You have Knight. We've talked about Harvey all night. LeGrone. We just saw Eric Owens with an interception. Come from all directions.
You know, and the thing about these kids, Harvey 6'2", 255, LeGrone 6 foot 220, and then you look at Knight at 6 foot 210. They've all got that safety linebacker type size to play at the next level.
Boostman flinched just before the snap of that ball, and that brings the flag.
But a dead ball. False start. Number 32 offense. Still second down.
This is where you really have to fight to maintain your concentration. I mean, you knew you came to Champaign, you were going to be up against it. And this was a case too of a, you can watch a team on film, but when you get on the field, all of a sudden speed becomes speed plus 10.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I'm guessing that Plainfield hasn't seen anything they didn't expect from the film. They just couldn't have known it was going to happen this fast.
Final seconds here of the third quarter. Another dangerous pass attempt, and a flag will come out. On the coverage was Perez Hall. Peplow was headed down that right sideline.
Hall might get called for a little bit of an arm bar there. It looked like he had his right arm up on the left arm of Peplow.
Penalty flag on the play.
That is the call. That's the 8th penalty against the Flyers tonight.
Called that one pretty tight. I think you can justify it, but I'm sure that some stripes would have let that one go.
Spot of the ball will go to the 45.
Defensive pass interference. Defense. Second down.
Penalty will leave Tigers just a couple of yards short of a first down. And that will be enough. First down run ends this third quarter. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter for East St. Louis. 2 more here in the third. 61-yard touchdown pass to Thomas, and then an 85-yard interception return takes us to a 26-0 lead after 3. A lot of folks from across the state wanted to know what this East St. Louis defense is all about. This is what it is. James Knight gets things rolling early in this one. And the hits. Boy, that's the speed and sticks.
And well coached, Dave. You notice the helmet is down, out of the way, the shoulder out, leading in front of the body. They're teaching these kids how to play hard, how to play fast, and how to play safe at the same time.
You really do get a feeling at this level, that camera angle, the speed at which this game has been played tonight. We'll go to the fourth quarter. Dave Bernhardt along with Hub Arkush. A 26-0 lead for East St. Louis. Miller, he'll just pick his spots. Brady Miller, he's got the sideline. And he's going to go. 47-yard touchdown run for Brady Miller, and Plainfield North is on the board.
It is a huge play from your junior quarterback. Only carried the ball 34 times on the season. Prior long was 25 yards. He only averaged 5 yards a pop, but once he got the end, he was not going to be stopped. You hope it's not too little too late, but it's certainly something that Plainfield North desperately needed. A quick score, only 12 seconds off the clock in the fourth period. They've got it down to a 3-score game again.
Let's make it a 53-yard touchdown run for Miller. And Peplow looking for the extra point. that's what the folks from Plainfield came down to Champaign. They did not want to see a shutout. And thanks to number 12, Brady Miller, they've got their team with 7 points on the board.
Miller at 6'3", 185, not exactly sprinter's speed. Once he got the edge, you kept looking for who was going to come and get him. And right there, a really nice block on the outside. That was Ryan Kristofiak who got that block that sprung him. And after that, it was just a question, was he going to have enough speed to get to the end zone? And Miller found enough.
That block win against Jeff Thomas. You know, I wonder whether Brady Miller and the rest of his teammates are going to keep that hair color throughout the winter.
Well, you know who did that once, since it's still a Cubs kind of year in Chicago, but remember back in Tampa, it was about 4 or 5 years ago that Joe Madden told his kids if they came from behind in a ball game, I forget how far they were down, he thought it was safe, it would never happen. They came all the way back and won the game, and it was Joe Madden who ended up bleaching his hair on a promise from his ball players when he was managing the Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, Tim Kaine, he can't make that promise. He already has his hair blonde. It's become a thing at Plainfield North. Here's the kick to restart play. Perez Hall makes the cut inside and down to the 32-yard line. So Brady Miller said, you know, I'm going to be part of this team, going to get that hair nice and blonde. That's pretty good, work right there. So he's got it blonde, but oh my gosh, it is spreading throughout the crowd.
Better look on some than others.
Yeah.
That's kind of got the skunk look to it there a little bit.
Yeah, my pause was for you to jump on that.
I mean, if you're going to do it, go all the way. You don't go half and half. I mean, what kind of look is that? Who knows? We should remind folks, Brady Miller just a junior, 6'3", 185 pounds. He threw for 1,868 yards on the season. He obviously knows what to do with the ball in his hands. He's a young man to keep an eye on as Plainfield comes back next year and tries to get back here again. Right, because of an injury in the summer, he really didn't participate on 7-on-7 work. So he came in a little bit behind the gun. Terrell Anderson, a short carry. You would certainly think that Coach Duncan's going to try and keep the ball on the ground, if nothing else, to eat some clock here. You've still got a 3-score lead. As much as style points are nice, Jeff Thomas has got his 2 huge plays. I would think you try and run some clock right now, and you do that by running the football. Well, and the other part of that is the respect that he has for the Plainfield North defense that can very easily pick up a turnover or two of their own if you get a little bit careless offensively. That's just behind gun. Anderson again. Going has not been easy tonight for Jarrell Anderson. He's wrapped up by R.A. Ikawa. Now, how about the alums of these two programs? On one side, he's actually on the East St. Louis sideline. That is Terry Hawthorne, the former parade All-American drafted by the Steelers. He's a defensive back coach for the Flyers. Coach Sunkett very proud of the fact that Hawthorne came back, wanted to be part of the program. And then you've got with Plainfield North, a young man in the league right now, Capri Bibbs, is playing running back for the Denver Broncos, went to Colorado State. He apparently was back as recently as 3 or 4 weeks ago on a bye week, tries to be around the team as much as he can. Anderson will be short of the first down. It's Terry Hawthorne. Now, some say that he has head coach material written on him. Giving back to his alma mater. You know, back to Capri Bibbs, I believe that bye week, it was actually a Thursday night game. He came back on a Friday with, that, of course, that Sunday bye, and talked to the kids at halftime. And that's not just a one-time thing. He would come to 7-on-7s in the summer to see his former school play. It was really great visiting with Coach Sunkett and Coach Kane this week. They both really wanted to focus on the way that Hawthorne for East St. Louis and Bibbs for Plainfield North have gone out of their way to remain part of this program. Right now, it's Terry Hawthorne's alma mater that's on top, 26-7, as we take a break.
The 2016 IHSA Football State Championships are brought to you by Country Financial. Country Financial will help you build a plan with insurance and financial solutions to help you get to where you want to go. Call your local rep at 1-866-COUNTRY or visit countryfinancial.com. We're in the final 9.5 minutes here in the Class 7A championship game. Coming up, 8A. Folks been talking about this one for about 7 days. Maine South and Loyola, a rematch of a one-point game in the second week of the season, won by the defending champs, Loyola Academy. Kevin Block with that fair catch call, as we've had a lot of action here on this turf, here on this Thanksgiving weekend. 22-yard kick on that punt will give Plainfield North the good field position. They'll look to come back and answer that touchdown that Brady Miller had with another one.
You know, Dave, I've been very impressed. The East St. Louis crowd has been on their feet the entire second half. They look like they're ready for a party to break out. But then I just noticed down below us that the Plainfield crowd is up too, and I think it's because those aluminum bleachers on the old posterior are so cold.
Hey, big opening off the left side of the line. Hoosman inside the 40-yard line. Two big plays back-to-back for the Tigers. This one from Hoosman goes for 26 yards after that 53-yard touchdown run from Miller.
Another quick strike here, and stranger things have happened. Got to get the ball in the end zone quickly. Need to score 2 more times, but they had a really nice job. Probably Hoosman's best run of the day.
Boy, great block there by Nathan Lindroth, the right guard. A kick-out block opened the door for Hoosman. He'll slip forward for 3 yards here on first down. Off the bottom of the pile is Ken Dixon.
We have spent a fair amount of time marveling at the play of those 3 down linemen for the East St. Louis defense. I think the offensive line of Plainfield North, much better job here in the third quarter. We mentioned Ari Akawa, the only all-state player in the game. Just mentioned Nathan Lindroth as well. Tony Little, Will Vito, Dylan Zarita doing a nice job tonight.
Loss of yardage on that play will bring up a 3rd and 10.
Never compliment the offensive line and then have them get blown up like that. That's on me, guys. That's not on you. I should have saved that comment for a little while.
You know, and I wasn't going to say a word. I was just going to sit here and let the silence speak for itself.
Well, as a guy who in the Stone Age played offensive guard at Deerfield High School, I know nobody ever called my name. I said, let's get the offensive linemen some love here. And they just come off 2 really nice running plays.
Plainfield North on an 8-game winning streak. East St. Louis won all 13 of their games. This goes to Kane, and before he can get his wheels underneath him, he's driven to the ground by Malcolm Bell. Malcolm Bell with just 6 yards on that reception.
This is obviously a 4th down where you're going for it. You're at the 31-yard line of East St. Louis. There's no future in trying to pin them down. You need a 1st down and another score quickly here. So with 4th and 5, maybe 4.5, this could be the ball game for Plainfield North.
3 receivers will head out to the wide side of the field right there at the top in that triangle formation. Miller looks their way and misfires, and Peplow was covered short by Thomas, deep by Darrow, and the ball will go back to East SL.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate read by Brady Miller, because TJ Kane broke it off underneath that 3-man bunch, and he would have had the 1st down. Pretty easy pitch and catch, but looked like Miller was looking down the field all the way.
Peplow has come up with some big catches, never had a chance on that one. Thomas, the closest man to the ball. Numbers for Brady Miller tonight: 9 of 17, 82 yards. He's thrown a couple of interceptions. A net of 44 yards rushing. That includes a 53-yard touchdown run. But now it's the Flyers with 7:06 to play and a 26-7 lead. They'll look to take some time off this clock. Jig Brown, the carry for 2. Brown, a junior, along with Joel Anderson. Folks that will be seeing East St. Louis on your schedule next year. You look forward to seeing those two coming right at you again.
You know, Dave Estes, my hat's off to this kid because he still looks to be favoring that left arm and shoulder a little bit. I think we're going to find out after the game that he sucked it up and played hurt through the second half.
Well, you saw, if you're with us right before halftime, you saw how much pain he was in and how he was physically carrying that left arm. But 3-year starter, the leader of this team, Brown driven down. Leo Santos, defensive tackle at 260 pounds.
Leo Santos.
He's number 60.
Old Leo's got nose tackle written all over him. 6 foot, 260. You know, that's that plugger in the middle. That space heater's going to eat a couple gaps for you. He did a really nice job on that, saying this one's not going anywhere.
Comes off to some handshakes, replaced by Shane McGrail.
Third and 9.
It's 3rd and long. Staying on the ground to Brown. And East St. Louis will have to punt.
Yeah, I think that's a call where Coach Sonkin is just saying, let's keep the clock running at this point. Let's get out of here with a state championship. We don't need to do anything fancy. As long as we don't make a big mistake, we're in good shape. Run the football, kick it away, and force Plainfield North to go all the way down the field.
Now, this will sound somewhat contradictory. You said don't do anything fancy. That feels like it's the way it's been for East St. Louis tonight, but yet they have the big plays. A 43-yard touchdown pass, a 61-yard touchdown pass, 85-yard interception return. But those seem to be a product of the offense and defense we've been talking about all night.
Well, and a product of Jeff Thomas. I mean, the kid's a big play waiting to happen. They got the 2 explosions from him, and in the end, that's basically the difference in the game.
Another floating snap goes back to Cook. That punt 27 yards against a wind straight in the face, about 10 miles per hour.
Dave, I have a tip for any youngsters in junior high school, maybe freshmen, sophomores watching this broadcast right now. Learn how to deep snap. They give college scholarships for that. You don't see enough of it. And when you're really good at it, you become a very valuable weapon. And as good a football team as East St. Louis is, and I don't want to know who the deep snapper is. I don't want to call any of these young men out, but that's something that they'll probably try and improve on next season.
This one floats down the left side, and nearly coming away with it is Nico Capizio. You know, speaking of long snappers, interestingly enough, my broadcast partner last night for the 3A and 4A games, Chris Hyland, an All-American long snapper at Illinois State.
And my broadcast partner tomorrow morning on 670 The Score, Patrick Manley. We do the Bears pregame with one of the great long snappers of all time. Matter of fact, holds the record for most games ever played by a Chicago Bear, and he was primarily the long snapper. He's the one who told me about the scholarships. That's it.
Thomas with the tackle. He'll get some help from some friends. And now the whistles blow. Somewhere in that pile. Plainfield North receiver Connor Peplow. There he is.
You know, Dave, in all seriousness, it was actually another one of my former broadcast partners when I was doing the Bears game, Tommy Thayer. Tom's nephew, I'm embarrassed now, was a Thayer, I can't remember his first name, but went all through high school, Joliet Catholic, focused on his long snapping, got through college, got some financial help, and he's not a professional football player, but he's got a college degree, and is in large part due to his long snapping.
And there have now been 2 dozen young kids that their parents have already tapped him on his shoulder and said, Hub Arkish says, I need you to get in the backyard, do some long snapping.
Dillon Mccarthy, the ball carrier.
And the helmet pats will go to Damon Taylor for that tackle for loss.
I always told my kids to play golf, a little safer. And of course, none of them played golf because Dad told them. So, you know, they all played football and wrestled. And
timeout, Plainfield North.
Dillon McCarthy with that last carry. The Tigers will take the timeout. And again, coming up, our 8A championship game. The combatants in that team Loyola Academy and Maine South, they've had to wait a while. After a long first game today, things have been pushed back a little bit.
Yeah, you mentioned people have been waiting 7 days. People have been waiting 11 weeks since that week 2 one-point ball game that they played. It was an instant classic, and now we get a rematch with the big guys in the final game of the state playoffs. One thing I'd like to do here, Dave, because we're going to be talking a lot about singing the praises of East St. Louis as this thing wraps up. My hat's off to the kids from Plainfield North. This just doesn't feel like a 26-7 game to me. There have been plenty of opportunities for them to roll over. They've hung in. They played tough in the second quarter. They were hanging in the third quarter until the big play to Thomas. They've reacted well. It's been very physical, and they're probably not going to feel great when the final gun goes off, but these are memories you take with you forever. And playing in the state championship game here at Memorial Stadium against a really good East St. Louis team, I think these Plainfield North kids have acquitted themselves really well.
Well, a couple of things. The first year of varsity football at Plainfield North was 2006, and prior to this season, Plainfield North had never won a playoff game in football. And that's going to go for a big gain and a first down. Perfectly thrown ball to Dillon McCarthy. That will put the ball into East St. Louis territory.
And again, we talked about Brady Miller. He'll be back for one more year before he thinks about college ball. 6'3", 185. He's got a nice frame, and he really has a nice touch on that football. We haven't seen everything we need to know about the arm strength so far, but boy, he can drop that ball in over the top. He's done it several times now.
23 yards on that completion. Tigers would like to get on the board one more time. Quick slant. Thomas was right there to break it up before Kristofiak can get himself going.
Miller also just made a really nice one-handed grab of a shotgun snap. It almost went awry. That ball was going to his left. He just reached out that one left paw, pulled that ball in, and was able to get it off and avoid a bigger loss.
Remember, coming up between games, Sierra Santos along with Edgy Tim. Take a look back at this one. We'll hear from the winning coach and some players, and then get you all set for our 8A championship game.
Personal foul, roughing, number 55, defense. First down.
We'll move the ball up inside the 25-yard line. In traffic and knocked down by Thomas. He has such quick closing speed. The intended receiver was T.J. Kane.
Tell you, Brady Miller obviously feels pretty good about his arm strength, because he's tried to squeeze that ball into a couple of tight spots. That was not a great idea where he put that football, and he got away with one on that.
Again, this year was the first year that Jeff Thomas was asked to play both ways. All-American wide receiver. In fact, he'll be playing the Under Armour All-American game on New Year's Day in Orlando. One rating service has him rated as the number 7 wide receiver in the country. Once again, looking for McCarthy, nothing doing this time.
And I think it's a lot of it is, it's not just the speed, but it's the combination of speed and athleticism, and suddenness is another word you hear from scouts a lot. He's got the great sprinter speed. We've seen that in the 2 deep balls, but beyond that, the way he separates is really impressive, and that's the special trait that these college recruiters and eventually NFL scouts are looking at. Again, we mentioned earlier, Coach Sonka told us earlier this week he wouldn't be surprised to see Thomas someday like Terry Hawthorne playing on Sundays.
Third down, and again knocked away in the intended receiver. Peplo on the coverage. Arcavian Darrow. There's never much room. You talk about separation. There is never separation with the Plainfield North receivers because of the speed and quickness in the secondary.
This is a ball, though, that Miller will learn to try and put over the top. He tried to squeeze that in there, you saw, and he allowed the defensive back to get an arm in there. It was only half a step, but Peplo had it. If he puts that ball over the top, I think Peplo's got a chance to stretch out for it.
8th play of the drive here for the Tigers. Have a timeout.
Timeout. East St. Louis.
Taken by the Tigers, and gives us a chance to remind you that when coming to Champaign for the state finals in a Lionette game or just to visit, the best place to stay is Hawthorne Suites by Wyndham. Located just 4 blocks from Memorial Stadium, Hawthorne Suites clean, comfortable rooms are a welcome sight while on the road. Their fitness center, indoor pool, hot tub, and full hot breakfast, complete with an omelet chef, are just a few of the perks that make the Hawthorne Suites the place to stay in Champaign.
And when you get to Memorial Stadium, bring a blanket to put down on the aluminum bleachers. I feel bad. Everybody that plays but us is standing. David, we've got leather chairs up here, you know. It's those aluminum bleachers are obviously doing a number.
Well, now the kids would probably stand anyway, but I think it's the folks that are older than 18 that are standing because of those bleachers.
And we really should point out, this is not a horrible night for football on Thanksgiving weekend. The temperature when I came up was 48 degrees. I think it's still in the 40s. You get this on the last Saturday night in November. It's really pretty pleasant. I think for the kids on the field, you can tell it's not bothering them at all.
Yeah, all weekend long, the weather conditions have not bothered any team, not affected the outcome of any game. Miller has some time. He has room. There's Peplow. 23 yards from Miller to Peplow, and the Tigers have scored twice here in the fourth quarter.
That was a really pretty throw, and Connor Peplow, I think, has shown some things tonight. You can understand, again, a special athlete. He'll be going to Illinois State on a baseball scholarship. They've got a pretty good football program there. Played for a national title a couple years ago. I wonder if maybe he'll get a phone call about doing some double duty.
Well, you remember that hit he took early in the game and hung on? He has come right back and just has that soft hands. I think things have happened for this Plainfield North offense all season long. 61-yard drive in 8 plays, covered a little less than 2 minutes.
You won't see him here, but Peplow is also the place kicker, obviously going for 2 right now, but this is quite an athlete.
In a different formation. We've not seen this tonight.
That's why. Ball came. That one didn't go so well. That handoff got missed. There was 3 backs trying to, I think they were trying to hide the football going into the line of scrimmage.
So the score will remain 26-13. The 2 scores here in the fourth quarter have come from Brady Miller, one with his legs, here with his arm. Right there.
Peplow doing a really nice job of getting separation and getting himself a state championship game touchdown to remember.
2 touchdowns for East St. Louis in the first quarter. We were scoreless in the second. The Flyers came back, picked up 2 more scores.
What a dead ball. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Plainfield North, number 72.
2 more scores.
Forced on a kickoff.
In the third quarter for the Flyers, and the fourth quarter, the scoring has belonged to Plainfield North.
Get a little chippy here. That's the 3rd personal foul we've had in the fourth quarter, and it's understandable. These are young men who built up to this all week long on the Plainfield North side. A little frustration. East St. Louis, everybody trying to get in on a play. I haven't seen anything that screamed dirty to me, Dave, so much as these kids are playing to the whistle, and unfortunately that occasionally takes you after the whistle too.
2:58 left here. If you have a really nice onside kick in your playbook, this is not necessarily the part of the field you'd want to use it at, but the game situation would dictate it.
Yeah, it was a big 2-point conversion at 11. It could have been a touchdown with another 2-pointer and a field goal. Now it is still 2 touchdowns.
And needs to get 10 yards and didn't quite take the hop the Tiger fans wanted. Covered up there for East St. Louis. Number 24 is Immunique Williams. Had several big plays in this ball game, but we have decided that our Wintrust play of the game will be a defensive one, and the longest score of the night, 85 yards on the interception return
on the kicking team
by Eric Owens. He took it to the house, and with that, it became a 26-0 lead. And boy, that play looks big right now, given the last 2 scores here from Plainfield North.
Yeah, at that point, I actually, to steal a line from my buddy Wayne Larrabee, thought it might have been the dagger. Plainfield North put a couple scores up, but too little too late, it looks like.
Anderson will try to stay in bounds, but he will not be able to.
Yeah, somebody needs to talk to Jarrell about that. Hey, he actually didn't try to stay on. I think Coach Sunken he's hearing about it right now.
Yep, right there.
Hey, they're young men. They're still learning how to play the game. Let's just remind them, yeah, now Coach Sunken just telling them, no, let's keep it in bounds now.
Glanced up at that clock to see 2:51 to play. That's how far away East St. Louis is from their 8th state championship in school history. Anderson again makes that cut up the middle this time. And will not let go of that ball. And the flag tossed.
So the face mask, there was nobody blocking in there, so. Yep.
A lot of folks stripping at the ball, and they just happen to come up with a face mask. A tough week of practice for Plainfield North.
5-yard face mask. First down.
Some uncertainty during the week. They have come out here and have played well, and you would never have known that there was any situation that would have impacted them based on how they played tonight.
And of course, the 5-yard variety of face mask, unintentional. You're still going to get flagged for it, but when you do it on purpose or you hang on too long, it's 15. That one just a 5-yard.
Estes watches that play clock go all the way down, and Anderson will cover it up with 2 arms. School record wins for Tim Kane's team, 11, and a trip to the state finals. You know, he said he's never been around a group that is so game smart. That's quite the comment from a coach. You know, you think about that, and Bill Kreff, actually, the head coach for IC, was speaking about his team, speaking of intelligence, in that you can play the game faster when your players can pick up on things in a hurry. You can make in-game adjustments so easily. And I don't think that snap got off in time. There's the flag thrown in the defensive backfield.
Dead ball foul, delay a game, offense.
I'm guessing the other thing that if Coach Kane is not thinking about it right now, will at some point this evening, his son TJ, a senior, this will be the end of their father-coach relationship. I'm sure that there are many great things in store for the Kane family going forward, but my dad coached us in Little League a little bit, never a high school coach, and it was always different when your dad coached you for the last time.
Yep, very true. We saw Anderson go out of bounds the first play of this drive. Since then, everything has been run between the hash marks. 90 seconds left in the ball game. Appears that Plainfield North would like to take a timeout.
Probably a good message to his players. Let's play it to the end. We're here at the state championship. You don't want to, go to the end of the game with timeouts in your pocket. We've got a chance to get the ball back here on 3rd down. You've got, what, 3rd and 10 or 11? Get the chance to get the offense back on the field one more time.
While we have a moment, let's take a look at our Country Financial player of the game. It is Jeff Thomas. And he's going to blow right past you here. The second touchdown of this game, that was a 43-yarder from Ray Estes. Later, 61 yards in the score. A lot of people were waiting to watch this ball game to see what Thomas was all about, and they got a pretty good look here tonight.
I'm still impressed on that second one that Estes found him. He was throwing it to him, but there was a lot of traffic out there. He laid it right into him coming off the right hash.
3 catches, 105 yards, 2 of those 3 going for scores. 2 of the 4 touchdowns tonight for the Flyers.
And Dave, also a couple of really nice saving tackles in the first half when this game was still close. I remember the one play in particular, it was 12-0, and it looked like Plainfield was going 60, 70 yards. He cartwheeled that back right in the middle of the field all by himself.
Anderson. That will be enough for a first down, and that could put an end to this one. The clock stops at the minute 23 to reset the chains. Plainfield North out of timeouts. And it's just a matter of getting off a couple of snaps.
This is probably always the difficult dilemma for Coach Sunka. Do you get one more kid a state championship scorer, or do you take a knee and pay homage to your opponent who came out and gave you all you could handle tonight? It looks to me like Coach Sunka is thinking about taking a knee.
We saw him there just a moment ago. Is it like a basketball coach that undoes his tie, he takes off his sport coat? Darren Sunka took off his glasses. There's also a Gatorade jug in the vicinity. From the near side, and out of bounds.
The opposite of taking.
Yeah, they're going after it.
I don't think he wanted him out of bounds again.
That was Jarrell Anderson once again. He's carried the ball now 22 times tonight.
3-yard line.
Near 100 yards.
Fans stand by immediately following the game. Presentation of team and individual awards will take place.
The ball will be snapped with about 33 seconds to play. And they're starting to set the screens up. And that's a very happy bunch. Imagine that trip that it's been over a year. The trip being, you only played 4 games last year. And this year, you got the job done.
And I think Coach Sunka just got a little Gatorade bath on the sideline there.
Dead ball, delay game, offense.
Yeah, his players got the job done there just a moment ago.
I'm not sure they got him full on, but they got him a little bit.
You know, and the other coaches, I don't know. I was going to say the other coaches were accomplices, but I'm not so sure.
You know, not only were the other coaches accomplices, but I think it was one of the assistants who got the brunt of the bath.
You may say it's a nice night here in November at Thanksgiving weekend. That is cold stuff on you.
That's a smart head coach. You let the assistant take the worst of it.
Anderson.
He's trying to stay in bounds now.
Yep.
There you go.
Jarrell Anderson, the ball carrier. Penalty flag on the play.
And that big crowd right there from East St. Louis have been standing all night. They have been traveling with their team, a huge contingent from Southern Illinois. And they will be seeing their team win their 14th game of the year.
Offense, decline.
It is a long ride from East St. Louis to Champaign. Certainly a longer trip than the folks from Plainfield had to take, and they have been rewarded.
And now the roar coming from that far side of the field here at Memorial Stadium. East St. Louis Senior High School will have won their 8th state football championship in school history. The Flyers do it 26-13 over Plainfield North.
Leandis Estes just sprinted almost the length of the field in celebration as his team now comes off the bench to catch him before they line up for the handshakes that are always such a special part of these state championship games.
East St. Louis called the City of Champions. They have another. It comes in Class 7A in 2016.
That concludes the 7A state championship game. East St. Louis, 26, Plainfield North, 13.
There will be well wishes throughout the night, throughout the weeks ahead.
Very deserving champion, Dave. They came out from the beginning. They got the couple big plays early to get the 12-0 first period lead and never really looked back. Plainfield North, give them credit. They hung tough. They kept this a ball game to halftime, not allowing East St. Louis to score in the second period, but then a couple more big plays in the third period. You know, even in the end, this is East St. Louis team came in here in 13 games having scored 564 points, averaging well over 40 points a game. Plainfield North did a nice job keeping this to a 26-13 outcome.
Darren Sunka, his second state championship as a head coach, the 8th in school history. It comes here tonight on the campus of the University of Illinois in Memorial Stadium. Raise them all high, including that trophy. It will be presented coming up next to our state champions from East St. Louis. Happy bunch of folks from East St. Louis. They'll make their way to the south end zone. That's where Plainfield North is right now. The Wildcats picking up their trophies, and our trophy presentations tonight are brought to you by Menards.
As we've indicated, Dave, these Plainfield North Tigers, plenty to feel good about. Their first trip to the state championship game. An incredible run through the playoffs as they knocked off the 1, 4, 8, and 17 seeds to get here. Unfortunately, on this night, an undefeated East St. Louis team, now 14-0, just a little bit too much for them. But boy, with the speed and athleticism that East St. Louis brought, I'm still impressed with the way Plainfield North hung in and played with them.
You know, you speak of that playoff run, and Plainfield North was, in all honesty, not on anybody's real radar here in the 7A playoffs when those pairings were announced. And I think it's a case of, okay, we win, we practice, we win, we practice. Now you get done and you'll say, boy, what a run that was, knocking off all those higher seeded teams.
It really was, and of course, you know, we're not dwelling on it this evening, but the controversy of last week, I think for these kids to come out here and acquit themselves as well as they did and to show that they truly belong. These kids are deserving finalists, they're a deserving second place team, and there were plenty of chances for them to kind of roll over during that football game, and they never did. They hung in right to the end, and hopefully feel really good about what they accomplished. That's a pretty nice looking trophy they've got there, even if it's the second place.
First playoff win in school history came this year. The final game is played on the biggest stage. And for East St. Louis, they have 8 of those here after they get this one in just a matter of moments. We talked about, and Edgy Tim talked about in the pregame about the difference in the two programs in terms of the long and lengthy and legendary program that's under Robert Shannon that started this run of 8 state championships compared to Plainfield North's emergence. And again, you talk about 8 state championships. All those fellas in the blue uniforms, they feel that tradition. They want to be the part here in 2016. They have done just that.
Yeah, I don't know how you can not feel it. I don't know anybody who's ever worked in our industry who isn't familiar with the name Bob Shannon and the program that he built, and the fact that Coach Sunkett now has his second state championship, obviously a worthy heir to the legacy of Bob Shannon. And you look at this football team, there's a number of seniors, but there's some pretty good-looking juniors going to be coming back next year, too. You certainly have to assume that we have not seen the last of East St. Louis here.
And the entire community of East St. Louis happy to see that trophy as Ray Estes, the 3-year starter. Next time he takes a snap, it'll be at the University of Missouri, but all of those snaps tonight led to the state championship in 2016 in Class 7A. Congratulations to the Flyers from East St. Louis. Remember, coming up next, we have 8A football, championship football, Loyola Academy taking on Maine South. But for now, the 7A title belongs to ESL.
One of the other stories we'll watch develop over the next few months now is whether Jeff Thomas follows his teammate Ray Estes to Missouri. We've heard that that is one of his top choices. He's also looking at the University of Illinois right here. I'm sure a Illini alum would love to see that. Number of kids on this East St. Louis team haven't made school choices yet, but they're going to be playing some college football. They are very impressive high school athletes.
Their school, East St. Louis Senior, they win the state title. The college will wait for them for right now. Congratulations to the Flyers from East St. Louis.
We are back with our Country Financial game break and some very happy Flyers here at Memorial Stadium, where East St. Louis best Plainfield North 26-13, winning their 8th state title. I'm Sierra Santos here in the studio alongside the very well-respected Edgy Tim. I would say so.
Okay, well.
And we're here to get your expert analysis. And this East St. Louis defense just seemed so tough to beat tonight. It also seemed like every minute there was a different guy pitching in. What did you think about it?
Great observation. We talked about it before we came on air. It was 11-man defense for East St. Louis. I mean, from the defensive backs, the linebackers, the linemen, everyone played fast. Everyone hits hard. I mean, that is a terrific, physical, fast defense. Defense wins championships, from what I hear, and East St. Louis brings the trophy, takes it home. Terrific performance.
And the guys in the booth just mentioned it. The next time we see Ray Estes take another snap, it'll be at Mizzou. What can you say about the versatile quarterback's performance tonight?
Well, that's part of his value as a recruit, is that he is that versatile. If it's not a quarterback, it could very well be at a wide receiver or a defensive back. He's that kind of athlete. So.
And Plainfield North did come back in this game in the second half, but it was just too little too late. You do have to give them credit. They held an offense that normally puts up about 40 points a game. They held them under 30.
They did, and you give credit for never giving up, and you knew this Plainfield North team would never give up, and to be able to put up a couple of scores and dent that defense, they didn't crack it, they dented it a bit, and again, credit to Plainfield North again, just a terrific effort, and never gave up.
And that Brady Miller, Connor Peplow combination seemed to be clicking really well, especially toward the end of the game.
Brady Miller was a key in this run for Plainfield North. A lot of people didn't realize North lost, ended up third in the conference, lost Oswego East. That was without Brady Miller, who was out due to injury. As soon as Miller came back, Sierra, North rolled, and he was a huge part of this success for Plainfield North this year.
Well, we are in the midst of our country financial game break. We will be back in just a few, and hopefully we will be talking to head coach Darren Sunkett, and maybe we'll also get to hear from Ray Estes in his last game here at East St. Louis. We'll be back in just a few. East St. Louis beating Plainfield North 26-13. Welcome into the country financial game break. We just saw East St. Louis capture their 8th state title over Plainfield North. They continue their perfect season. It is 14-0, the record they will end with. And we'll also start to take a look at our next game, the 8A championship. What are you looking forward to the most about the final game tonight?
Well, it's always sad for me because now I have to make it up for 9 months. But again, just always a great nightcap to a terrific weekend here in Champaign.
Well, we saw both Prairie Ridge and East St. Louis complete perfect seasons. Will Loyola Academy follow suit, Edgy?
Boy, you talk about a terrific ball game. This one is going to be back and forth. Again, just terrific final game, no question.
And we will have the Class 8A title game coming up shortly after 8 o'clock. We'll get to the previews in just a bit. For now, we will be back with Coach Darren Sunkett in just a few. Welcome back in. East St. Louis capturing their 8th state title, 7A class, and we are joined by the champions. We got more than a couple this time around. I'm kind of glad it's a group effort. Let's start with you, Ray. Your final game, is it a bittersweet moment, or is this, you couldn't imagine it any better, I'm assuming?
I mean, I couldn't imagine even better. I can't even say nothing. I'm lost for words. I did it with the fellas who I grind with all summer. I applaud them for the effort they put in all summer. We started grinding and we set a goal before the season, and we knew what we had to do to get to this point. And we felt like with all the hard work, sweat, and tears we put in this, we was gonna go empty-headed and we would have had a 13-1 season. So I feel like, as me being they brothers, we did what we had to do.
And when you do accomplish an undefeated season like this one, what does it say about the entire group effort?
Well, it just shows what type of character these kids have. I mean, there was times during the season, especially during these playoffs, where they could actually fold it. But, you know, these guys, they've been through a lot together. And it all started actually last year with a strike-shortened season. And once that happened, these guys really bonded and really became a lot closer. And you couldn't ask for a better climax than what we have today.
All right, Sunk, did this guy put a little nervousness in you about second quarter of this ball game? I mean, you know, you don't want to see this guy go down. That might be the worst thing that happened. Just your thought process and how was he able to shake off whatever he got?
Yeah, I mean, we were a little concerned. You know, it took a pretty good hit, fell down on his shoulder. Good thing it was his left shoulder. So, you know, I just told him it's your left one. You know, we can strap it on as long as you can still throw it with your right hand the ball off. But now, Ray's a tough kid, and we've always said he's one of the toughest kids on our team. And you know, we couldn't have done it without him.
Ray, talk about that whole process last year. I mean, your season was taken away from you guys, and you know, you guys were on a roll. You guys could have done some special things. It didn't happen. How much of that focus and you being one of the leaders of this ball club? How did you grab the guys? Did you get them together and say, this is what we're going to do? Walk us through just how you guys handle that to move on to this year, and here you are in a state championship.
I mean, for us to get our season take away last year, put a sour taste in our mouth. We felt like they shorthanded the scenes that we had last year, which we had a great group of scenes. So we felt like this season was dedicated to them. So, like I say, after the long practice we did have during the summer, the scene set around, chilled. We even created a stronger bond than the last year, previous year. So we felt like as long as we come together and pull us through as senior group, we're going to have a great ball club. And we felt like we had to fight each other during practice, fight each other, grind it out, iron sharpen iron. So I feel like as long as we did that, we was going to be fine. And we go by in LMB, never leave my brothers in. If they got my back, I got their back. So I feel like we did that all summer, all season.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes. That's got a little something to do about it, too. Congratulations.
We got some guys back here. Yeah. I'm sure these singers want to say something.
Let's see these guys.
Got Jeff Thomas. Got
you guys had such a strong support system out here. How are you guys going to celebrate?
On camera here, man.
I mean, we're just going to come together as one and just finally celebrate this win.
All right, guys. Well, congratulations. Let's get that trophy in there. Let's get it in. All right.
There you go.
8th state title. Congratulations, guys. We'll send it out to break, and then we'll be back to preview the final game of our broadcast, the 8A state championship game.
Thank you, guys.